Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
Good evening everyone and welcome to the Project Cars 2 AOR LMP2 League on the PC season number 1, round number 5. It's the Le Mans 2.4 hours. My name is Thompson and joining me in the commentary box for tonight's race is Andrex. Good evening to you. Absolutely fantastic. Hope you're doing fine as well. And yeah, finally the longest race of the season. We're racing at Le Mans with the LMP2 cars. I think this should be an absolute cracker of a race.
Flat out, long straights, high speed, drafting. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. This one, I think, this is for me. This is the kind of the top of what these games are for. Like Le Mans is just, you don't get much better than Le Mans. It's iconic. The cars are super fast. Yeah, it's an endurance race, so it's going to be a case of pacing yourself to an extent. It's not a flat out sprint like some of the other races throughout the season. So anything can happen. Plenty of time to recover from any incidents and so on. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but it'll be a good one, I'm sure. So
as we wait for everybody to get on their very, very long outlaps, let's first of all have a look at the current championship standings, as we only have today and next week's race remaining. And we can see actually at the top it's pretty close at the moment. Tomahawk's on top with 154 points, yet to get a win actually. But with that consistency, that currently puts him at the top, followed by arguably our two fastest drivers in the league, AndrexUk and Bogey France, both equal on 136 points. And then we've got Ultimate Kaiser actually not too far behind as well. And then looking at the teams, and we can see that it's actually also very close. Moisty Boys on 178, Team Understeer 167, McDonald's Delivery Service 165, Midfield Mowing Machines 161, and Turtle Racing 154. So basically we've got 5 teams and 5 drivers who are still in a very, very good position to be able to win the championship. So that should be interesting. What do you think of it?
Well, this is it. It's pretty close at the top there. It's still a couple of races left to go in the season, so they can't go all out, and they've still got races to lose out on and throw away a championship. So they've got to play safe, but they've got to get as many points as they can. So it's a tactical choice, I guess. That they've got to push and do as well as possible, but they can't afford to throw anything away and throw it down the pan.
Alright then, so as the drivers are coming to the back end of their outlaps, let's go to the racetrack. There it is on screen now, currently following WMDR Martin, who's now coming through the last couple of chicanes to start his first flying lap.
Indeed, I think that's Yogurt just going across the line there, so we'll maybe just go on board with Yogurt there as he starts a lap there. So across the line there, coming up to turn 1, there's a right-hander here that's flat out, not lifting. Then we're braking, probably down to about second gear, maybe first, some of the drivers here. Left-right chicane there, hard on the gas on the way out. Flat out with the crest here, down into the dip down the right-hand side. Drop a couple of gears, throw it into the left, hug that left-hand side. Back over to the right-hand side, get a good exit there. Hold it to the left all the way out here, and get as fast as you can through this section here without going over that white line to invalidate your lap. Flat out, down the Muscleland straight, getting very high speeds there, probably getting at around about 310 kilometers an hour at the end of the straightaway, before very heavy braking into another fast chicane. So probably a big overtaking opportunity here with a draft. Just going to throw it into the right, drop it a couple of gears down to second, right, left, and then back to the right again there. He might have gone over the line there and caused that lap to be invalid. Nothing's came up on the race feed there, so he might have got away with that one, but it was a little bit wide, not quite so optimal. Hugging the right hand side, just lining it up on this next straightaway there for another chicane, just the opposite way to the previous one there, so left and then right again. Down probably into second gear again, and then right over to hugging the right hand side apex. Get as fast as exit as they possibly can there, foot to the floor, up through the gears, up this little small incline here, and then back down the other side. Again, they were pulling 6th gear at the top of here again, and then another heavy braking into a hard right hand corner, 90 degrees right, late as possible in the brakes, throw it in. That's certainly throwing it in, giving it plenty of armfuls of opposite lock there to correct the slide. Back on the gas again there, probably the second fastest part of the track here, that probably again get up to close to 310 kilometers an hour. Just following that long straight away into a couple of shallow right-handers that are obviously straight out, flat out, and then into another fast right-hander, maybe down a gear, maybe holding 6, just a little lift there, drop it down the gears into first gear, one of the slowest parts of the track there, back up a couple of gears and then into right-hander again, also using first for this one as well, and then again hard on the gas, another flat-out section here, long straightaway. A shallow left-hander here, so he's just going to kind of hold it in the middle of the track there. And it's coming up with another fast sweeping set of left and rights coming up here. Holding it to the left, opening up this corner as much as possible there, chucking it into the right, taking a kind of long exit out wide as much as possible there, flat foot to the floor, maybe dropping a gear down here, down to 4, holding it to right as much as possible without scrubbing up too much speed, getting a good exit on that left-hander for another sharp sprint down into the final little couple of left-right chicanes. And that's the pit entry on the right-hand side there. Left-right, then left-right again, foot to the floor, and coming across the line again to complete his first flying lap. And he puts it in on a 3:28.3. So provisional pole there. Obviously nobody else has set a lap time yet there, but that's a pretty high bar to set straight off the bat. You can see Bogafrans there coming in just under 2 seconds a lap behind on his first flying lap. And then we can also see Tomahawks there also putting it on 3rd place. So at the moment the top 3 guys are on the top 3 spots of the provisional grid at the moment at this stage, in the early stages of qualifying. We've got Ash Turbo holding a 4th in there, another respectable time there, 3:31, and Martin currently holding 5th position.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, what a lap around the Circuit de la Sarthe that was from Yoguk as a first quote-unquote banker time. Only real mistake I could spot was that very big slide into Mulsanne corner there at the end of the second long straight, as he had a bit of a drift there coming out of the corner. But yeah, still a 3:28. That's a very high bar to be set. Bogafrans and Tomahawks almost identical times, only separated by 29 1/1000ths of a second. And yeah, at the moment 10 cars have set their first lap time, but we've only got 6 minutes remaining. That is the nature of the length of this track. So you're not going to get many chances tonight to set a good lap time.
No, and again, that's another tactical decision. Do you go all out as fast as you possibly can and get the good grid position if you pull it off, as long as you don't mess it up and throw it away? Or do you put in a kind of semi-safe banker to start with, maybe a couple of seconds off your lap time, your normal good lap time, but get a banker lap in place so that you've at least got a semi-decent starting position if all else goes horribly wrong? So I think certainly the top guys are probably just going to be gunning it, to be entirely honest. They're just going to be going all out. They probably practice enough that they don't really feel the need to be too conservative. They're just going to go for it. Currently Yogurt still holding pole at the moment. Still plenty of time there. There's going to be enough time for a couple of laps still to go. So yeah, still all to play for, but with a 1.8 second gap already, it's looking like a promising start for him for sure.
Yeah, Yogurt again with a lot of pace right out of the bag, just pulling out those lap times. Very incredible stuff there from him. Yeah, at the moment, as we said, the gap 1.8 seconds, but we can see Bogafrans currently trying to improve his lap time. Obviously, without the sector splits, not quite sure yet. whether that time is going to be better. We can see he's followed by Tomahawks just very closely behind. So I think the top three fairly close on track as well on their laps at the moment. We can see Tomahawks currently up by 1.5 seconds. So it's tenths of a second, sorry, not seconds. That currently would put him into second place, but obviously we know Bogey Franz is ahead of Tomahawks, so I'm gonna guess he'll improve as well. Inky Chris, we can see here currently in P4, again doing a very solid job there in the black and green livery Judd. Sorry, Ligier. Is it a Judd? No, it's a Nissan, isn't it?
Nissan, yeah.
Yeah, it is a Nissan. For some reason, I had in my head, I had that he went to a Judd, but no, it's actually the Nissan.
It's a shame to not see the Nissan Oreca out, which originally started out in, but certainly it was not particularly very competitive when it came to the Le Mans track with a straight out speed. It was very good on the twistier tracks, and it did alright there, but it struggles with raw pace on the flat out tracks. So
yeah, very unfortunate.
Kind of had to ditch that one, unfortunately, but I think it was the right choice to do, to be fair.
Yeah, just looking at it competitively, obviously it's a no-brainer really, but it is a bit unfortunate, obviously, because it's the only open cockpit car. As Bogey fans going really wide there, out of the first chicane there. But yeah, it's a bit sad to not have it on track today. Just from a driver standpoint, it is very fun to drive. Just recently did a social race with it here on AOR, and it was a lot of fun, but unfortunately it just can't compete with the Nissans. They're just too quick.
Yeah. And just looking at Bogey Franz there, he's sitting behind Tomahawks just now. Might be just lining that up for a nice little draft lap on the out laps just now. But he might be just kind of quite happily sitting there just now, and he's going to try and steal the draft on the straights on the flying lap. So we'll see if he stays there. But quite a few people in the pits at the moment there. Smolder's parked it for just now, and he's not going to have enough time to go out and leave the pits now and set a lap time. So anybody currently in the pits just now, including Inky Chris, Eisencheck there, and we've got Fat Scout in a Summer Body. I mean, how much of an epic name is that? You don't get much better than that. That's fantastic. But he'll not be improving. We've got JG also currently in P15. We're currently just now. And we've got Mlunja and Mashup all in the pit at the moment, so they will not be able to improve on their current position. If anything, they will only be able to drop down, because there's still some people that have not set a lap yet. There is an Oreca out on track under the controls of Cameron B just now. Has not set a lap as yet there, so we'll maybe just follow him, because it is a lovely car, and we'll see if he can convert this lap into a valid time.
Also, very nice livery for the car as well, I must say.
It is very green.
It's very green, but it looks very nice.
I'm going to suspect he's maybe on a control pad looking at the inputs on how the wheels are behaving there, because it looks quite digital. So if he is on a pad, then fair play to him, and he does drop that lap and pull into the pit. So he will not be setting a lap time. And he will be at worst or at best sitting in 21st off the grid, but there are still people sitting on a quick lap just now, so we'll see if these guys can bring this home and put a time on the board, steal some places.
What we did see on screen but haven't talked about yet is that Asturbo currently sits in second place, as he went faster than Bogey Franz and Tomahawks. And Yoguk, I think, actually improved his time, because the gap to Bogey Franz and Tomahawks has gone up to over 2 seconds, whereas Asturbo, again, improving about a bit more than 10th, so a gap now 1.5 seconds. He goes to the pits, and now the time is up, so everybody now on the flying lap is allowed to finished that, and I think Bogey Franz
I think
just
he
managed
just
to start
crossed
a lap.
that line in time there, indeed.
Yeah, that was very close. He's got some sneaky slipstream there from Tomahawks.
I think it's Tom. Yeah.
Yeah, ahead. And considering they're about the same pace, this might actually not be a bad idea. Since he
I
shouldn't
think
be...
he's just probably in the wrong kind of gap, unfortunately. It might be actually detrimental to the point where it might even be affecting the dirty air in front of him, so he needs to be a little bit closer than that, and he really needs that gap to be within a second. And it looks as if he has dropped off a bit there. If we just quickly go on board with him, that is, I would say, more than a slipstream drafting gap. So we'll see if he does improve, but he's going to have to get the hammer down there to try and catch and steal that draft for the rest of the lap.
Yeah, he hit 317 coming into the braking zone of the first Mulsanne chicane. I think that was about the same as Jogok had, and on his flying lap. So currently no slipstream to be seen.
Indeed.
Crab still out on a flying lap, it seems, currently sitting in 23rd. And the Gnome just behind in 25th. Looks like the Gnome will be the first driver of the one still out on track to finish the flying lap.
Indeed. No valid time on the board yet there, so the pressure's on to kind of get this one on. But we can see by the delta here that there is quite a big gap between the qualifying times there. I would say probably the people that are within the 10-second mark are probably put in a relatively decent lap for themselves. Obviously there's some here that are 16 seconds plus and almost a minute behind. So I don't think that's a representative of their actual pace in reality, but they've maybe just not quite converted their lap times in the qualifying session. But he can easily, even if he's within 10 seconds of Jogok at this stage, he can easily jump himself right up on the board and put himself in the midfield as long as it's a valid lap. So he's just coming up to the final section here, just the last couple of little quick left-rights. And we'll see if he does indeed put a time on the board. Which he does, and puts himself right in the middle there, P14. So, yeah, 7 seconds off Jogok's pace. Jogok is still out, as well as Tom, but it looks like Bogey Franz has called it a day for qualifying. Tom just coming through into the final section there. See if you can find Crab, because he must be coming up to the last little section there as well. I think, is that JD in front? He's already crossed the line, sorry. Crossing the line here, is he going to jump himself up into the top half? He does indeed with a P8, so a pretty respectable time there. Less than 5 seconds off the full time there, so that's looking pretty healthy.
Jogok just improved his time to a 3 minute 27.8. What a lap.
That's pretty rapid.
Alright, so qualifying results on screen then, as we can see Jogok with another pole position, almost 2 seconds quicker than AOS Turbo in second there. Behind we have Tomahawks, and then Bogey Franz, and then Inky Chris in P5, Ultimate Kaiser, Uni, Crab, Kieronik, and WMDR Martin in the top 10.
Indeed there. Just looking at the second half of the grid there, we've got Smolder holding P11 there. We're just under 6 seconds off the pace there. Pickle holding 12, with Dusty not far behind him in P13. Eisencheck was 15, I think he was. 14, sorry, my apologies. And then we've got Average Boy in P15 there, with JD that we just saw the end of his lap there, putting himself in P16. And then we've got Fat Scout holding 17th there on the grid. 18th is JJ, and we've got Dayrafile, which we didn't really catch a hold of during that qualifying session here in P19. And we've got Stephen Carey, which we also didn't really focus on during that session there just now as well, so we'll see how he gets on in the race. He's starting off in P20. I've got Melonger, which we did have a quick look at during qualifying there, holding 21, and we've got Dominu in P22. Mashup Matt is holding 23rd on the grid there, along with Keyboard Blondie, another one that we didn't quite catch during the session there. And bringing up the back last couple of positions there, we've got the Nissan Orca of Cameron B, and we've got Gwegwin holding last place on the grid, but certainly not last and all out, because there could be carnage at the beginning, and if you just play it safe, sometimes at the back of the grid is a very safe and good place to be. If you can dodge all the carnage, you can gain a lot of positions very easily.
Absolutely, and just to have pointed out Keyboard Blondie there in the Marek, so also not in the Ligier, so something we'll have to watch out for. We can see the two cars that aren't Ligiers at the back. Not quite sure if that was driver skill or car pace, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an RWD that Gwegwin's in there. Could be wrong. Could be the other one. It could be the Marek.
Oh yes, Gwegwin. Sorry, Gwegwin. Yeah, Gwegwin is in the Marek, in the RFH Motorsport number 7 liveried car. All right, so everybody has now sorted out their setups and their pit strategy, and as usual, if you're not familiar with our rolling start procedure, so when the race starts, which is basically now, we can see that the leader slowly pulls away ahead of the grid. The whole grid will do a formation lap, basically one lap around the track. They'll be allowed to warm tyres and brakes, and then there will be a designated formation point, which is basically, I think, right at the end of the Porsche curves, so maybe we'll see them line up a bit earlier just to be sure, and then in the acceleration zone, which is basically the start finish straight, the leader is allowed to choose a point where he wants to start the race, and then we'll get racing.
Indeed. So this is when the nerves start to play out there, that they've got their game plan, they've got their ideal strategy of how they want to take this race, but once that right foot gets planted firmly to the floor, then sometimes strategies just go out the window, and it's just a case of focusing on what's right in front of you, and perhaps having to deal with what happens to it later on. There obviously will be pit stops required in this. They're not going to survive 2.5 hours without stopping, so there's going to be a strategy involved in terms of tyre wear and fuel usage, when to take that pit stop. Again, obviously, potentially, if you're stuck behind somebody that you feel you're faster, it might be a case of getting out that doing a pit stop early, getting in some clean air if you're lucky, and seeing if you can jump the person on strategy rather than just pace. But it's a fairly easy track to overtake on, so it might not be quite so much in terms of tactical decisions for pit stops, but we'll see how that all plays out throughout the course of the race.
Yes, definitely. Just looking at it, it's going to be a bit of a different race compared to last week where we raced at Spa. Obviously, we had that huge battle that Uni was involved in. I think it was the battle for P6, where everybody was switching places back and forth. At one point, I think there were 3 or 4 drivers involved. And here it should be a bit easier to possibly overtake, but it also can happen that you get caught sort of in a slipstream train, and everybody gets slipstream off each other, and nobody's able to overtake. So there's a lot of things that can have an impact on how the race goes. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how everybody tries and get the optimal result out of their race tonight.
Indeed. I think it could be an interesting one. It certainly should provide plenty of action, because the drafting is going to be very strong, very powerful here. So yeah, it could be a case of people just quite happily sitting behind somebody and not trying to force their way through. Maybe even able to conserve a little bit of fuel by not having to have the foot to the floor when they're stuck behind somebody in the draft. But I think it's probably going to be a case of they want to try and break away from anybody they can, and they're going to go full out.
And just looking at current grid order and what that could mean for the championship, obviously Elgato in prime position to win his third race this season. Obviously, he's the only driver to have won multiple races so far, so pretty evenly split between the top drivers win-wise. But yeah, the nearest rival, or the most important rival, Tomahawks, currently sitting in third. And I'm just having a look, point for pole position, plus the difference between third and first is a 13-point gain. Gap currently is 18 points, so that would lead into a 5-point difference into the last race. So definitely going to be interesting to see how this pans out. But the top couple of drivers, it's every place counts tonight if you want to be in a good position coming into the last race to fight for the championship.
Indeed. So they're lining up into the formation zone now, 2 by 2. I was expecting the odd numbers will be on the left-hand side. Because although turn 1 technically is a right-hander, the main braking zone is actually the left-hander. So we see them just, you can see him just holding the brakes, getting some temperatures into his brakes there, whilst he's running at the slower formation zone speed. Look, the pack looks awesome. They're all bunched up nicely there. We'll see if we can figure out when Yogurt drops the hammer, but he's coming up to the start line now, so at any time, and away we go.
There we go. The race is underway. The 2.4 hours of Le Mans. Good start from Tomahawks there, having a look at AS Turbo around the outside. That's someone in the back having a very wide line. That's actually Uni, who we just talked about a bit earlier. Everybody trying to make up positions into the first corner. AS Turbo holding on to that second place. Tomahawks holding on to his third. Side by side, clean through the first corner. Cameron B getting past Gwegwin there into the penultimate position. And, ooh, that's someone very wide. I think that was Bogey Franz who...
That was indeed.
Who went wide there in that left-hander, took out a Bollard, but held on to that fourth position at the moment. But he will be a bit vulnerable.
It could cause damage, to be fair. It could cause front aero damage hitting a cone like that. I'm not sure if those ones do cause damage or not, but well, that might be something that he struggles with straight line speed. I think the Alta Kazi there is able to catch up on draft alone, so. It wasn't a massive difference, and Bogey Franz was able to kind of outbrake himself and hold on to that P4 position there. Just noticing that Ultimate Kazi and WMDR Martin have got a penalty. We will check up on that later, but whilst the racing action's pretty hot stuff, we're going to follow this nice long train of cars, all single file at the moment.
So, top 4 currently unchanged, but yeah, Ultimate up into P5, Martin up into P6, side by side. I think that's Eisenschenk and the Gnome going into the second chicane. Oh, I think there was a bit of contact. Definitely the Gnome going backwards there has now, I think that's, is that Eisenschenk? Yeah, Eisenschenk side by side now. I think he's going to lose that position as well, and there's even more pressure from behind. As we can see, JJ just behind, still going side by side. Oh! And I almost thought those two were going into the wall. How they held on to that, I have no idea. But again, a bit more contact. And the Gnome is always in the middle of that. So he's finding himself in a lot of trouble currently. JJ now side by side with Stephen Carey, who's trying to move up. I think he started in P20. Now up into P18 and make that P17 actually as he moves up past JJ. Yeah, meanwhile at the front, Yogurt, as usual, pulling out a gap fairly early, trying to get some distance between himself and the drivers behind. Driver behind currently is AS Turbo, followed by Tomahawks, and then we have Bogey Franz. Ultimate has actually got past Bogey Franz. So Ultimate now in P4, Bogey Franz P5, and he's currently equal on points in the championship, so that's not very good for him. Dusty side by side, he actually with TPW.
Around the outside, brave on the outbraking there.
Very impressive move there. That was big cojones moment there, but he made it stick, and up position he goes. Yeah, WMDR Martin up by 4 places from the start. That's absolutely correct.
Ooh.
Good start there from him.
Need to keep it within those lines. You could easily get a track penalty from going too wide on some of those exit corners there. We'll see if we get a little red marker coming up for those. But yes, at the moment, Yogurt looking semi-comfortable there, breaking a lead out up to over 3 seconds there now. As Turbo has got, he's got Tomahawks for close company, certainly about half a second or so behind, so coming up to that first straight away, and we'll see if he is able to keep on top of that.
Kiki Mac just writing in chat, there's still a long way to go. Yes, absolutely. Looking at how the racing is, you could think it's only a 60-minute race, but no. Everybody is battling very hard at the start of this almost 2.5 hour long race. So maybe perhaps try and keep the car clean is a good idea, but we can see Crab now side by side here with Inky Chris. That is the battle for 7th place. And I think I think they're coming down to the first chicane, so Crab should have the inside. He's late on the brakes, he's got the inside, move done, very clean manoeuvre, well done Crab.
Indeed, but however, Inky has now got the draft for the next straightaway, and we'll see if he can maybe return the favour and get back in front again, because he's right at the back of him. He has moved out from the draft, and it looks as if he's gone for the inside for the next chicane, which he has. He's on the left-hand side. He is already ahead. In fact, he's got the whole car ahead now, so as long as he can stick the braking, which it looks like he has done, and good driving and good mutual respect between both of them there, as it looks as if Uni went a little bit wide on that chicane there, lost a little bit of momentum. I think he was pretty close to Smolder before that little excursion, a little bit wide there. Got Average Boy that has also picked up a penalty at some point throughout that lap as well, and also Crab as well.
So a couple of penalties.
So he's fighting with Inky Chris, but he now is holding a penalty. We will review the penalties shortly, but there's still plenty of action going on there, and that's a spin out of the I don't recall the name of that chicane, the final right hand at the end of Mufflane Straight.
I think it's just called Malzahn Corner. Yeah, that was Kuranik and I think Dusty.
Which way around was it?
So didn't quite catch the start of that incident. They were going side by side into there, which is not always the best ideas considering you're braking into a kink basically. And they came together and spun off to the inside. Luckily didn't take anyone with them, just the two spun off and lost a great amount of time and a lot of track position at the start of this race.
Indeed, we are only a couple of laps in here at the moment because the first lap doesn't actually count, and if we look at the time already, guys at the back and the outside of the top 20 are already close to 40 seconds off the lead pace right now. After only 2 laps, that is quite a large margin of pace difference, but just got to keep it clean and get it to the end. You can gain some paces, even if you don't have the outright pace to get past people. Keeping the car clean and out of trouble can certainly gain you a lot of time in the end.
So I just saw Kiki Mac with another question. How many pit stops are we expecting? What does the former driver say?
I would say you're looking at the 4 to 5 minute stint out of an LMP2 tank. So yeah, I'll probably get 2 stops.
Maybe 3 if you can't make it on fuel. Do you think fuel saving is going to be a thing? Is that going to be a strategy, or is it not worth it?
I guess it depends on how close it is to getting that position by just going easy on the fuel. But it's generally not the best strategy. It's generally normally accepted that the best strategy is to go for it and then splash and dash at the end. It's not a particularly very long pit lane. So if there's somewhere like Spa or somewhere that has a much longer pit lane, then that time travelling through that stop is obviously a major factor, and you can lose a lot of time with that. But yeah, I think on somewhere like this, it's probably a case of you just want to get the foot down and go.
So 2 hours and 11 minutes remaining, so we did about 14 minutes of racing now. We're currently on the third racing lap, as the first one was the formation lap. We can see Yogurt still pulling out that gap, currently close to 7 seconds, and this is the group just behind. AS Turbo being followed by Tomahawks, and then we've got Ultimate, Bogey Franz, Inky Chris and Crab following them. And it looks like Bogey Franz is now finally lining up a move on Ultimate, trying to get back past. We can see Ultimate does have a penalty against his name, as Bogey Franz in the slipstream now. But I think the straight might not be long enough for this right-hander here, as that's coming up as fairly one line. And you can see Bogey Franz actually lifting off. Yeah, he's lifting off. So he's not going to try and risk it into this corner. You can see it's a very fast right-hander, and trying to make a pass stick there, going side by side, can be suicidal, and that's not something that you want to do with over 2 hours remaining in the race, as they go through Indianapolis and Anage and on to the next long straight. Possibly another chance for Bogey Franz, but then again not a great overtaking spot into the Porsche curves, because there's no hard braking zone.
Indeed. Coming through the twistier section here, so not really many opportunities to overtake coming through the Porsche curves. But we'll see if they're just quite happy to sit behind them. And again, at this kind of distance, he's kind of in the dirty air, and I think he maybe just did lose a little bit of downforce. Maybe the back end stepped out a little bit and it rotated the car a bit more, and he kind of went over the inside of the corner there, just touching the grass. Not ideal at these kind of racing speeds. You want as much grip as you can. You don't get much grip on the grass, so keep it on the tarmac.
And we can actually start to see that the sun is setting. Something we haven't talked about yet is since we're doing 2.4 hours, we're using 10 times time acceleration. So with the daytime, we'll basically be simulating a full 24 hours. So we'll race into the night and back into the day, and then finish on the second day of racing. As was that Kieran having a look around the outside? I think that would be a weird spot to try and make that stick for sure. But the gnome was currently looking fairly vulnerable, possibly damaged from all those incidents on lap 1. Maybe a bit down on pace perhaps.
And there might also be a setup consideration that obviously you're expecting it to be incredibly low downforce because of all the long straights, and you need as much top end speed as you possibly can. But coming through those Porsche curves, if you get the downforce right, then obviously you can do a lot of flat out through those corners. As that looks as if it was Kieran that managed to get past the gnome, but did manage to actually go off track there. So we'll see it if he gets a penalty at all for that. But it looks as if he is keeping the foot firmly to the floor. So a gnome following in the draft, he's going to pull out, and he's on the outside for that first chicane. And I don't think he's quite going to get it done unless he did some devilishly fast out braking. And I think he's just happy to concede and sit behind him, maybe have a go at the next straightaway. Yeah,
a bit much weaving for my liking from Kieran there, but yeah, no harm done at the moment. See Tomahawks still following AS Turbo here, coming into Mulsanne corner. You can see how fast that entry is as they then slow down for the first gear right-hander as the sun sets beautifully over the French countryside here at Le Mans. You can see Crab here running a bit deep into the corner. We've got Smolden P8, WMD on Martin. Dropped down to 9th, so not sure if damage or a mistake there for Martin, as he had made up a couple of positions from the start of the race. And here we have Stephen Carey. He's already up into 14th, so that's up 6 positions from the start. Good start there from him, but to be expected. Considering P20 is probably not the area where you would have wanted to start. Then we've got Keyboard Blondie here, and Dusty, after that incident, down to 21st. Looked like the season started off very well for him, but wow, what a fight there between Gwegwin and Domino. And Domino nearly driving into the back of Gwegwin there, just avoiding that. Monja also a bit deep into the corner, followed by Cameron B in the Orica, currently running in 25th. So looks like the Orica not liking this track very much, unsurprisingly.
No. Unfortunately, I kind of expected that one, to be honest. It's it doesn't have that straight line speed that these other LMPs have, unfortunately. So it has its advantages. It has a very nice first gear compared to a lot of these other cars. So the slow corners, the twisty corners, then it can get a good drive out of those. But yeah, you're not really using first gear at Le Mans very often. It's certainly not a significant part of the track. More about the top end speed, which it's struggling with. So yeah, he's going to fight in his hands to keep it out of last place, but it looks as if he has got out of last place because Domino has got damage and off track a little bit there.
Yeah, it looks like he's fighting to keep it pointing in the right direction. Ooh.
Yes, I suspect there's a fair bit of aero as well as suspension damage there. I'm not sure where he's dropped it there, but he's dropped it again. And we don't need the front aero, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's just causing extra weight, and I think he has parked it.
Yeah, has
So
retired
Domino
from the
retires from the race. And we'll see if we can find some more action elsewhere. Keep switching back to this Bogafrans and Ultima Kazi, because they are still very close together, as well as Tom and As Turbo are still very close together. And although we're not really focusing on it, Yogurt is continuing to pump in these very fast laps. He's currently holding the fastest lap at the moment with a 3 minute 27, which is not far away from qualifying pace. So everyone else is slowing compared to their qualifying lap times. But Yogurt is... fuel doesn't slow me down. Let's get this on.
Yes, absolutely. What a lap time and what pace. I mean, last lap he was basically 1 to 2 seconds quicker compared to everybody behind, as Eisenschenk is now side by side with TPW as they come into the second Mulsanne chicane. Eisenschenk's going to be on the inside. TPW actually going to try and hold it around the outside, turns back to the inside. They come side by side out of the chicane. I'm not quite sure who had the better drive, but it looks like it's going to be a drag race. They're still head to toe, side by side. That's absolutely great racing. They're going to come into a fast right-hand kink now, so Eisenschenk has to think about if he wants to take that risk. Looks like he does.
Who's the bravest on the brakes? And it looks as if it is Eisenschenk that has...
Yeah, he actually pulled it off.
Keep a hold of it there.
Yeah, TPW was not ready to take that risk with just 20 minutes into the race, and looks like he lifted out of that one to avoid running wide and into the side of his opponent. Bogeyfrans, a bit of slide coming out of Arnage. That's not going to help his run down to the Porsche curves for sure. Tomahawks also still throwing AS Turbo, so still very close there. Two battles for second and fourth respectively.
Still holding on, but it does look as if Eisenschenk has created a little bit of a gap there, pulling away from Ticklish Pickle before there. See if Stephen Carey is on the back of Fat Scout in a summer body.
I have a feeling you found your favourite driver name for the night.
Indeed.
But yeah, I really enjoy Stephen Carey's and Crab's liveries. This just pitch black LMP2 car.
Stealthy ninjas.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it gets dark, when we get to the night, it's just, I mean, it's mostly just headlights anyway in the dark, but with that livery, that car just absolutely disappears. So very stealthy livery, that one, but we can see Stephen losing a bit of ground through the Porsche curves as Bogeyfrans is now trying to line up a move move possibly into the first Mulsanne chicane. Gap as they come through Tetra Rouge is currently at 0.3 of a second, so that's a good distance. So let's see if he can make that move stick. And you can see now the gap slowly creeping downwards as he has that slipstream advantage. You can see he's already quicker than he would be on his own, 324.25, and he actually lifts off because he's not quite close enough. So possibly down to the next chicane is the next chance for Bogey fans.
I'll maybe just see if we can have a quick wee look at the penalties. So we've got a 1 second penalty for Ultimakazi, 3 seconds for Crab, so I don't know if that has been a single penalty of 3 seconds or whether we pick up a couple single 1 second penalties and added together. WMDR Martin has a single 1 second, as well as Average Boy, as well as Dreyer File and JG as well. And finally, Cameron also holding on to a 1 second penalty as well. In fact, Stephen Carey has just picked up a 2 second penalty, and Kieranwick has also picked up a 1 second penalty just now as well. So I have to keep an eye on that. It shouldn't really affect the race too much, because generally speaking, for a 2.5 hour race, a couple of second penalties are probably not going to drop you back too much, but it could. People are quite happy to sit behind somebody, and if they've got a time penalty, then there's no pressure for them to have to try and make the pass. They can just sit behind them and steal the position on the timing penalty. So
that is a viable strategy, although that comes into play more towards the end of the race. Obviously, at this stage with just under 2 hours remaining, if you feel you're being held up, obviously you want to get past, because that does add up lap after lap after lap. If you lose a half a second or something every lap, that does add up a lot at the end onto your race time.
Indeed, it does look as if Tomahawks maybe has the edge in this Porsche curve section. Maybe he's running a little bit higher downforce, which maybe is compromising straight line speed. So that's maybe why he's just quite happy to sit in the draft of Fast Turbo be in front of him and just stick with him, and maybe try and pounce on it later on, but certainly very close between the two of them. Yoga extending his gap further to a 13.5 seconds gap now.
And just wanting to say welcome and good evening to everybody who's joining the race. We haven't missed a lot of laps. Currently 7th flying race lap, as the first one was a formation lap. So thank you for joining in. And actually we're currently having peak concurrent viewers for this season of the LMP2 League. So thank you very much for joining in, and hope you are enjoying the stream. As we're currently following Daya File, who's sitting in 19th, about a second behind Dusty, who's trying to get a few positions back after that incident he had earlier.
And just comparing the lap times there, Dusty's did a 38. And that is somebody coming into the pits by the looks of things. I'm not sure who that was.
Eisenchenk is coming into the pits.
It does look like it is Eisenchenk. And he was quite high up, I believe, was he not? He was,
yeah. Oh.
He was missing a lot of his car at the back half.
Yeah.
And certainly a lot of damage to the front aero, losing a light as well. So, yeah, I don't know where that happened. Unfortunately, we didn't catch that one, but that's certainly going to need fixed. There's not much point carrying on with that. But it's now getting to the point where it might be okay to pit, and you'll still be able to do a 2-stop from here, but just not doing the splash and dash at the end, but having a longer stint. So we'll see how that plays out with him, but he is the first one in the pits at the moment.
That's definitely going to be a very lengthy repair stop there for the German driver, as we're currently following Bogey fans, who's still fighting for 4th position, just can't find a way past Ultimate Kaiser here. You can see how close they are coming through Mulsanne. Burgerfans electing to for a bit of a different line compared to drive ahead. He's got a good run out of there. He had a very late apex. He's going to pull side by side now, and he's going to have the inside line for the right hand kink, so possibly that's going to help him get past. You can see it there, basically right on the same height, and Burgerfans actually pulls out of it and doesn't want to risk it, even though he did have the inside line, but probably felt he just wasn't far enough ahead to have that corner to himself. So stays in 5th, and Ultimate holds on to that P4 for the moment.
Indeed, probably thinking the long game. Sensible driver. There's still 2 hours to go, so the potential of making contact here and throwing away a healthy top 5 position right now to potentially throw it away and make contact into a wall, or drop way down the ore, or have to pit out of his sync with his ideal strategy. But yeah, sometimes it is best just to sit behind and not go for that move at that time. There's still plenty of time to go. I think it's just starting to move there now after a healthy or an unhealthy amount of time in the pits to get that car repaired and back out on track.
And is now down into 24th position, and that is WMDR Martin with issues. He's also lost his rear wing, and he's now very quickly going to drop positions. He was in the top 10 currently, and that is almost half a lap that he has to do. And out of experience, when the car's that damaged, it's just a battle to even not spin, keep it in the right direction. You can see how much he's struggling in. He's very slow in the Porsche curves, and he tries to somehow get out of the way, even if it has to be onto the grass, to not hurt anybody else's race.
Indeed, that's very good driving, to be fair.
Yeah.
Very considerate to others. The car is probably going to be a handful to drive already anyway. So, is he parking it? No, he's just struggling as when he gets up to a higher speed. When it requires the downforce to turn, there is no downforce there anymore in the rear end to keep that in check. So, it's a case of bring it home slowly enough that you don't have any further issues. But yeah, we're doing a little bit more grass tracking over there, but we'll let him off with that one. He's not having a good time, I don't think. But manages to get it slowed down for the pit entry there and brings it in. Window wiper wagging its happy little tail, but I don't think the car is very happy right now.
No,
I don't think the engineers and its pit team are going to be very happy with him either.
Yeah, I imagine if you pull into the pits with a car like that, your crew chief is just going to look at you and say, "What the hell have you done to my car?
Yeah,
Look at it."
Indeed.
Ultimate still being followed by Burgerfans, who just can't find a way past the Durban, and possibly a thing to due to setups, you think? Possibly Burgerfans running a bit more downforce compared to Ultimate.
Certainly possible. Who are we missing? Because as Turbo was in P2, but he had
Tomahawk has dropped to P6.
Indeed, that was the missing link. Is he carrying any damage? What was his lap time? A 32, so I suspect it's happened this lap. So, a quick inspection doesn't look as if there's any damage on there, but it's starting to get rather dark out there, so not quite so easy to see. But he is wiggling around the place, so I suspect there may very well be some damage. We'll see if he pulls into the pits this time around, but yes, that's thrown away a good top podium position.
Yeah, very unfortunate for Tomahawks, and considering he's the championship leader, he needed that podium to keep a good spot in the championship, and considering he wasn't necessarily there on pace, but rather on consistency, with I think 4 top 4 finishes. So
Indeed.
So yeah, that's at the moment not going very well for him, and that could possibly bury his championship hopes.
Crab coming up to pass him there. Obviously, there's a lot of pace difference there, so he kind of leaves the door open for him to go because there's not really much point in fighting. And he does indeed concede that position there. Not as much damage as some people have been carrying, so it's not a complete disaster. But it will certainly be a very slow in-lap. I would be surprised if he doesn't come into the pit lane now, which he does. Takes it over to the right, and the car is still wriggling around and doesn't manage to get it stopped for that pit lane entry, but yeah, he has managed to navigate his way in. He'll get that repair done. We don't know how much damage there was, but there was certainly enough to be causing him problems. We don't know what he hit or how hard he hit it, but it looks as if it was all by himself and he hasn't hit anybody else, so indeed, pit crew will be getting to work on that one.
Just got some more information on Martin, making it even more impressive. His drive back to the pits with that damaged car. He's driving on a controller, so
indeed,
very well done there from Martin. Good job.
Yeah, he genuinely has very, very impressive pace for driving on the pad. Some tracks it's maybe not quite so much with a disadvantage as others, but it's still a mighty impressive feat to see what positions he can manage to extract and with pace that he can extract from a pad control. So someone else in the pits as well. Dusty is also coming in as well. Don't know if that's for damage. The car looks clean, but there could always be suspension damage which we cannot see underneath all that carbon fibre.
Yeah, maybe he did have a little bit of damage and decided to come in just a little bit early, just cut the stint a little bit short to get that repairs done. I mean, considering the race time and how long you can go on a fuel stint, I think there's probably a bit of wiggle room with how long you have your stints be. So at the moment, 1 hour and 50 minutes remaining. So there's still a bit of wiggle room in the strategy, and perhaps that's something he considered and came in a bit early to get some damage repaired.
Indeed.
So,
these two boys still locked in battle there. They're not giving anything up there.
yeah.
Actually, Bogerprans has got past now, and it's Bogerprans holding P3 right now, so as much as he had the tactical advantage over that time penalty that Ultimate Kazi does hold at the moment, there's certainly obviously no guarantees that Bogerprans won't pick up a time penalty at some point during a race, so he's decided, nope, I need to get past. I think I have the pace to break away, so I'm going to go for it, try and get past and chase down Asturbo for P2. Lap time was actually quickest out of everybody barring Yogurt, 33.2. Yogurt's 31.2, still 2 seconds quicker on that lap alone. Extends his lead up to just shy of 20 seconds, and if we look down, even the top 10 is outside of 1 minute behind him.
And just looking at it, Bogerprans putting out quite a gap there through the Porsche curve, so that would support the theory that he possibly has a bit more downforce on the car than Ultimate, as we're now here in the fight between Kieran and the Gnome. Oh, there was a bit of contact on exit there, as Kieran running a bit deep into the corner and basically hit the back right-hand corner of the Gnome's car, as Inky Chris is now in the pits. He's got 6 litres left in the tank, so that looks like a scheduled stop then for Inky Chris, who is currently sitting in P6.
Indeed, just looking at the tank there, we've got other cars that are still currently holding 10 litres or more, but it looks as if this is going to be a case where people are going to be pitting in very soon. I don't know what the litre per lap ratio is, but I don't imagine it will be much less than, well, I guess they start with about 75 litres, and they've done 11 laps now, so I'm guessing you're probably looking at around about 6 litres a lap or thereabouts. At a very uneducated, very quick maths, don't hold me to that, don't quote me to type mathematics. But yes, I suspect Yogurt will probably be coming into pit on this lap. I don't imagine he's going to be able to do another lap because he's only about a quarter of the way through this lap.
Yeah, so just having a look at the time. So if he comes into the pits, plus the first lap was a slow one as well, since it was the formation lap. But it looks like perhaps it's only 40 minutes on a stint, considering how much full throttle there is around this.
Yeah, a lot of flat out driving, so it's going to be drinking the fuel.
Yeah, so yeah, that should pretty much be 3 stops then in that case, 4 stints, and yeah, just getting that info on the fuel. But obviously, if you drive a different car, it might be a bit different. I mean, we do have an Orica and a Marek on track as well.
Indeed. Just having a look there, so Yogurt on that occasion was a 31.1, so maybe the tyres are starting to go, because obviously it did have a 3 minutes 27 as his fastest lap. Bogafran's certainly the closest on pace. He's definitely dropping the hammer now, pulling away a little bit of a gap to Ultimate Kazi now, so just short, well, just over 2 seconds in fact. But yeah, he looks as if he is on a charge now. He's got As Turbo in his sights, only 2 seconds up the road. 8 litres left in the tank, so not sure if he'll be able to start a new lap after this one or not. But,
yeah, that's interesting to see. He was stuck behind Ultimate for a very long time, and I imagine he did a lot of lifting as well when he wasn't close enough to try and make a move. So possibly that saved him a bit of fuel. And maybe
enough
he
for an extra
does.
lap.
Yeah, maybe he does have the chance to do an extra lap. You can see Yogurt is in with only 2 litres in the tank, so that's a very drained tank indeed. And he's coming in for his stop. We can see, I think, is that Bogafran's and AS Turbo?
I think they're both coming in. So yeah. Bogafran's holding just short of 7 litres, so I'm guessing it is going to be more than 7 litres a lap for most of these cars by the sound of things. That is also Ultimate Kazi also in there.
Crab missing
a bit of a sand pit entry, but also on just over 3 litres, so also needs to stop. And I think everybody is going to be coming in here. We'll have a quick look. Average Boy has only got 0.9. He is coming through Porsche curves at this section, a little bit wide on that exit there. He should have enough to get into the pits relatively comfortable, if under 1 litre is comfortable, but he should certainly be able to make it. But that's about as close as you want to get, I think. Everyone else also pulling in. Inky Chris has already served his pit stop, so he is going to be jumping up through the order there. Currently P10, and we'll see how many places he gains back up to. I think he was running about 6. So he's already up to 5th there, as the other guys in front have all left there. But Inky is up to racing speeds, coming up into turn 1, and it looks as if he has gained a fairly large amount, and at least 1 position.
Yes, Turbo has lost quite a bit of time in the pits, is now
Indeed.
down to P4.
4.
That moves Bogafran's and Ultimate up into podium positions. Bogafran's in 2nd, Ultimate in 3rd, and well, unsurprisingly, the arguably 2 fastest drivers in this league are now in the positions 1 and 2.
Indeed, still plenty of time, and there's still plenty more pit stops to happen, so maybe it was a case of that As Turbo has taken more tyres, fresh set of tyres on there that maybe other people have not. So we'll see what lap times these guys are pushing out on the next couple of laps or so, just to see if As Turbo is maybe a little bit quicker. Maybe he has picked up some fresh tyres on there. The gap is 27 seconds now, and I think it was pretty much about 20 seconds as they came in. So I don't think 7 seconds is enough for a set of tyres. It's generally around about 16 seconds. But it might be that he has just taken 1 set, either the fronts or the rears. Maybe there is a lot of wear on either the front or rear set of tyres, and that he has decided that changing either the fronts or the rears is a tactical advantage later on in this stint.
we'll have to wait and see how it pans out. Inky Chris dropping back a bit from the two ahead, as he's now a second behind S-Turbo, who's following Ultimate Chaos there. So if that continues on, Inky Chris is going to drop out of Slipstream, and then we'll be at a disadvantage. But at the moment he's just holding on to that Slipstream range. So let's see if he can get into the mix for this battle for P3.
Average boy there, holding P13 at the moment there, just outside the top 10 there, but he does have Stefan Curry just in front, well in striking range there. Let's see if he can get the draft, pull a little bit closer, and think about making a move. And then you've got Kiernick very close behind as well, right? Very happily collects some places. His average boy has got that all wrong. Carried a bit too much speed into that chicane entry there, maybe got caught out by the car ahead, braking point, and he has dropped the front end, turned the car around, got it going again, very quickly back up to racing speed again, but he has dropped a position there to Kiernick. So, yeah, a bit of a mistake there. Let's see if he can gather that back up again, see if he has got the pace to catch back up again and challenge once again after that.
Yeah, very quick turnaround there from him. Sometimes when you spin awkwardly, it's hard to get the car pointing in the right direction up to racing speed. But it felt like that only cost him like 2 or 3 seconds, which is, I mean, you obviously don't want to spin, but considering all things, that's still a very good turnaround to get it back going in the right direction.
And critically, no damage as well. So having just served the pit, you don't want to be picking up damage and have to go back into pit this early. So yeah, kind of very important to keep the car all clean and tidy, and then he can always, if he's got the pace, then he can catch back up again. If you're bouncing off walls and picking up damage, then that's going to slow you down massively with such a low downforce track, that any damage is going to seriously compromise your top end speed.
So at the moment, it looks like Bogey Franz possibly had some sort of mistake, because he was 19 seconds behind Yogurt. Last lap time was there or thereabout with the cars around him, considering that was the outlap, so that's why it's higher than usual. But yeah, he's now down to 26 seconds behind Yogurt, and now only just ahead of Ultimate, 2.5 seconds. You can see that's the gap to the two cars behind, so he must have made some sort of mistake. So hopefully there's no damage, just a bit of time lost. But yeah, we were expecting him to now start to pull away from the drivers behind, because it did seem he was held up a lot by Ultimate there on the previous stint. So let's see if he can recover from that.
Yeah, indeed, and again, just once more showing his dominance there on just on the outlook lap alone. Yogurt pulling a healthy couple of seconds, 2.5 seconds over the next fastest person. Smolder also got...
Oh, Bogey Franz has spun! There was a half spin from Bogey Franz just on the side of the screen. We nearly didn't catch it, but yeah, half spin there from him. He kept it out of the wall, but did lose the two positions, so he's now back down into 4th. And that's a lot of hard work undone there from him, as Turbo, who was already having a look into Mulsanne corners, now side by side with Ultimate Kaiser here as they come towards Indianapolis, and he's just got far enough ahead to claim that corner for himself, and pulls ahead of Ultimate Kaiser there, back into 2nd position. So S-Turbo did lose a bit of time initially through the pit stops, but he's now back up to 2nd.
Yeah, it's obviously just keeping it clean there, striking when there's, I think Ultimate Kazi just kind of hesitated as they approached that corner because it had a yellow flag there due to Bogafran's little half spin there. So he maybe played it safe. Bogafran's going wide as he kept it out the wall. think. He managed to keep it out the wall there, but he definitely went wide and losing a lot of speed there, and the position to Inky Chris, promoting Inky up into P4 there. Still a very solid drive from him there. Ultimate Kazi's still on the back of As Turbo there. Yogurt back into the 333s there, so we'll see, because I'm just seeing if we can get an idea of As Turbo's pace in terms of, did he perhaps take a new set of tyres somewhere on that car that is going to stand him in a lot better grip and pace later on in at least this stint. They might be double stinting a set of tyres, I suspect. But it looks as if As Turbo has maybe compromised 7 or 8 seconds in the pit stop by putting on a set of new tyres. But if he's able to do 33s when the cars around him are doing 35s, that 7-second advantage or disadvantage in the pit stop will very quickly become a net gain for sure.
So with the nature of the track, would that be the front or the rears that you'd rather change?
I would expect the fronts, just because the rears are probably not having to work too much. With it being such a low downforce track, on the corners, the front end is probably going to be scrubbing a little bit, because it doesn't have that downforce to get the grip. It's got enough downforce to keep the car planted and stable through the corners, and enough to go flat out through a lot of them, but it will be putting out a lot of kind of lateral force on those tyres and causing graining and tyre wear for sure. So he's maybe done his calculations, he's done his practice and put in the lap times and figured out that it is worthwhile changing a set of tyres. I suspect everybody will probably change their tyres at the end of the next stint, but it just remains to be seen whether As Turbo has perhaps managed to do a strategic jump ahead of them at the end of this stint, and we'll see what lap times these guys are getting.
Yeah. The other advantage there could be with tyre changing is obviously we have different track conditions with the day-night cycle, so with different temperatures you perhaps want different pressures in the tyres, but this is the Gnome actually trying to get past Kieran. Oh, that was so close. I think there was a bit of contact as well. They've been battling very hard for quite some time now. It's actually the battle for 12th position, and at the moment Kieran with the upper hand. But the Gnome does have some slipstream now, so perhaps he can find a way back past the Polish driver. But looks like he is possibly running out of straight this time around, so he'll have to try and find another spot to get that move done.
Indeed, I think it would be a little bit foolish to try and outbrake from such a distance back. These cars are very evenly matched, and obviously the pace is very close to one another as well. Eisenschenk coming into the pits again, also looking rather wounded once again. It's looking as if it's had a bit of a battle with a wall somewhere perhaps.
And that's the second stop for Eisenschenk. That seemed fairly unscheduled, so
Indeed.
He'll drop down once again as we're back with the Gnome, still trying to find a way past Kieran for P12 as they come down towards Indianapolis.
And although they are kind of fighting with one another, they are both catching up on the tail of Stefan Carey.
Yes, Steve Carey currently up 9 positions up.
Oh. There's the commentator's curse. He's just keeps it off the wall enough. I don't think there will be any damage from there.
Yeah, I think he might have slightly tapped it, but I don't think there should be any significant damage.
I think he needs to reverse a bit more. Oh, he manages to rotate it round in the sand pit. Get it back on a track and get going again there. Bit of a mistake there. Just coming through that fast right hand of Indianapolis and then losing the back end. Managing to catch it to a large extent, and again obviously able to keep it off the wall, which is very critical. because you're going to be losing that time when you're spinning, but you don't want to be losing any more time by having a broken car at the end of it.
Yes.
So that's gained a couple of people some positions.
Talk about commentators cursed. I was literally wanting to start saying how well he's done moving up to 11th, starting from P20, and before I could say it, he had that spin. But yes, very lucky escape to not have a very heavy impact into the wall. That could have ended his race instantaneously, but can continue for now, and is now currently in P15.
Indeed, it is a super fast corner. It's pretty much just a slight lift and then back on the throttle to get the grip. So when it starts to go wrong, you are carrying a lot of speed, and then if you end up facing the wrong direction, you're just praying that it doesn't suddenly get a grip whilst it's pointing towards the barrier. So kind of fortunate to get away with that one, but get away with it he did. As Turbo is indeed pulling a bit of a gap to Ultimate Kazi behind, so he did have the pace earlier on to be holding P2, but it looks as if he does have a little bit extra pace at the moment now, so Ultimate still probably picking up a little bit of draft here and there, but it's actually Inky Chris that's closer to Ultimate than Ultimate is to As Turbo.
So, just past the 90 minutes remaining mark, and currently Yog extending that gap up to 30 seconds now on race lap number 14, following WMDR Martin, who's now in 20th after having that huge crash earlier and having to go to the pits for repairs. So this is now a recovery drive. He was inside the top 10 when that happened. I think P7 around that area. He started in 10th. So next up would be JJ, and I think he should be able to get past. He definitely has the pace to do that, but he needs to get the move done first before he can continue onwards with his recovery.
Indeed, 3:36 there for Martin there against JD's 3:42. So I don't know whether JD had an issue on that lap, but looking at the lap times of other people in a similar sort of position, it's pretty much matching that. So maybe just a kind of fairly safe pace for JD at the moment. So I think it is probably just a matter of time before Martin is able to catch right up and pass and get that position. Start climbing back up through the ranks again. So if we're looking at 3:36s, it puts him around about maybe just outside the top 10, maybe inside the top 10 for some of them. So in fact, he's taking a big stab down the inside.
What a move!
Very confident on the brakes there, and I think JD was quite happy just to say, "Yeah, you're faster, on you go," and let you through without too much fighting. And therefore not losing time himself by defending and battling. So, yeah, probably a sensible choice, a tactical decision to just not fight and potentially trip each other up and put each other in the walls. So, yeah. Speaking of which, these two boys are having a bit of a battle at the moment there. Fat Scout there, and there's a slow car up ahead. Who is that? Is that Gwegwin?
Yes.
It is. Gwegwin must be carrying damage. It does look a little bit twisted at the front end there. That looks as if it is the RWD, if I'm not mistaken, and it is most certainly crabbing. So not suspension certainly damaged, not pointing in a straight line. It's a long lap to be going at 100 kilometers an hour. It's going to take quite a while for them to get back home again. And speaking of which, there is further damage. I wonder if these all came together because of the average boy with a lot of damage at the front end there. And Ticklish Pickle Wickle looks as if he's actually coming out of the pits there, so maybe that was completely unrelated there, but I wonder if average boy was maybe involved in some way between himself and Gwegwin there. I don't know what sort of positions Gwegwin had managed to work himself up from the back of the grid. He's still currently in 20th there just now, but I suspect he will be breaking off to the right here and having another trip in to catch his mechanics and get to work on the car again.
It's quite impressive that he actually managed to stay on the pit entry with that broken right front wheel. That was definitely an unusual setup, steering alignment that he had going there. And Inky Chris up into fourth at the moment, very close behind Ultimate. So can Inky Chris get past to possibly get another podium? He does actually have one podium, which is a win. That was at the Nürburgring. So possibly these endurance tracks suiting Inky Chris. Who knows?
Indeed, it looks like he actually had a disconnect in the last race there, so he's still holding P6 in the championship, with having swapped his car and had to readjust to a different car, and a disconnect, and still holding 6th in the championship and 6th in the drivers' team championship as well, despite a slacking teammate.
I wonder where that teammate is right now.
I don't know, but quite disgusting to leave Inky Chris all by himself there. He should be ashamed of himself.
Well, maybe if Inky Chris does well, let's say gets into the top 5, perhaps there's a beer to be handed out. Maybe that's an option. But at the moment it's looking very good for Inky Chris. It's putting a lot of pressure on Ultimate. Again, it looks like it's a lot of defending for Ultimate Kaiser tonight, as he's seemingly holding other drivers up, although his pace still is fairly good. So, holding P3 on merit for sure, but at the moment it looks like he's holding up the car behind.
So I had a quick run through the track last night there, just to kind of get a feeling for things, and I was doing sort of 35s, but that was not at night. Although, if I look at how many laps I've done at Le Mans, I could probably drive with my eyes closed, to be fair. But yeah, these guys are obviously putting in these lap times, lap after lap. Yogurt's in the low 32s. Most of the other guys in the top 10 are looking at around about 33, 34 or so. I've actually got Tom still making his recovery, currently in P8 there, also putting in essentially a second fastest lap there, and I think that's been fairly consistent throughout this race since the issue that he had previously earlier on. So he has got the pace to be catching these people up ahead, but you're only looking at about a couple of seconds a lap, which when the gap you're looking at 8 seconds ahead to Smolder, you're looking at 4 laps before he kind of catches up to Smolder and can mount a challenge to him there. So it's quicker, but it's not massively quicker, but you can be expecting to catch people lap after lap for sure.
So 1 hour of racing is now behind us. You can see time remaining currently 1 hour 23 minutes. Still very dark here at Le Mans. Still a bit of time to go until the sun starts appearing on the horizon once again, as we're here on board with WM Leah Martin. He's currently sitting in 17th, trying to move up a couple of positions after his incidents. Next up, Daya File, who I think is only in his second race as a full-time driver, and I think this is also his first season league racing, if that information is correct that I got from him. But currently running P16, both in the points, and looks like Martin got a very good run there out of Tetra Rouge, and should be getting a chance, an opportunity into the first chicane here on the Mulsanne Straight. We can see Martin pulling to the right hand side. That will be the inside line coming into the first chicane, and he's still gaining a bit.
He's just going to do the same and let them go, which he does. He lifts off a little bit earlier before the braking point. Lets Martin go, but Martin is still in full charge mode. Didn't maybe quite read that he was donated that position before the corner, and managed to outbrake himself. The extra speed he was carrying with the draft down the straightaway there. But again, we're looking at 3 minutes 35 lap times there against day that was doing 341. So quite a sizable difference on that occasion. And again, I think the tactical decision from the airfile was just a case of, you're faster, I'm just going to let you go. There's no point trying to hold you up and affect my race by maybe having an incident. So on you go, have the position, you carry on and do your thing, I'll do mine.
Yeah, if you're you know, mostly on your own and you see the car behind is gaining several seconds a lap, there's no real point in trying to fight that with 80 minutes remaining. So usually just better off with not fighting it too hard, let them go in a convenient spot, and then just trying to get the best overall race time at the end. So trying to get to the finish line in the quickest way possible.
Indeed, just looking at Ticklish Pickle's lap time there, it's a 4 minutes 11. I didn't catch what if he had any incidents there to cause that, but that's 30 seconds more likely to be off his normal lap time. So I don't know if he put it in the pit as Uni has, because he's got front end damage. Although that might be a graphical thing, because I was expecting that to get instantly fixed and repaired, which it hasn't for myself. I don't know if you can still see that aero damage to the front end of the car there as well, but
yeah, it's the same for me.
I suspect that was also an unscheduled pit stop, because everybody will have pitted around about 20 minutes ago, so he would have had half a tank left and fuel, so no need to come in, but I suspect that was probably damage on there. Gwegwin repaired, back out and up and running again after his sideways moving car. Four-wheel steering obviously wasn't beneficial in the long run. He's had that fixed, back out on track.
Eurogeek asking about if this is the penultimate round of the season. Yes, it is. So tonight's race, and then in 1 week time we'll have the season finale in Portugal. That is absolutely correct. But for now we've still got 80 minutes remaining in this race, and looking very good for Yogurt at the moment, but it's still a very, very long race.
Indeed. Thank you, Chris. Did actually drop back a little bit off Ultimate Kazi, but he's got that gap back down to less than, or around about 1 second again now, so I don't know if he had a bit of an incident. We'll maybe have a quick recheck on their lap times there. He was a tiny fraction quicker than Ultimate Kazi on the previous lap. We'll see if he is matching his pace again, because he did drop back a little bit, and now he's caught back up again, so we'll see if he is matching the same pace again. That's Turbo still holding a comfortable P2 at the moment there. He's got about a 3-second gap to Ultimate's behind him, but maybe I'm not correct in the assumption that he'd changed a set of tyres, because his lap times are pretty much matching what the other boys are doing out there. So if it was a case of having changed some tyres, I was expecting that to keep his lap times maybe a little bit quicker than the guys around him.
It's also interesting to see that Burger Franz is dropping away from that group. He was in second position at one point, and it looked like he was being held up when he was in the group, in that pack. But at the moment, he just doesn't really have to doesn't have that pace advantage anymore. I mean, he still did a 34.8. That's still a decent lap, there or thereabouts with the other drivers. But yeah, at the moment he's 5 seconds away from the drivers ahead.
Indeed, we did see him go off at the Porsche curves and go off onto the grass a little bit on the exit. Not sure if he did make contact with the barrier on the outside, but he's maybe carrying a little bit of aero damage. So yeah, but we'll see if if pace improves just a little bit after the next series of pit stops. But yeah, well, remains to be seen, I guess.
Stephen Carey very close behind Ticklish Picklewiggle here as he pulls to the left-hand side. He does have the overspeed, does he? There he goes.
Ticklish Picklewiggle have actually got the position on Stefan. and Stefan was just following through and taking advantage of his draft once he'd got past, but seeing if he can keep a hold and get dragged along through the track and maybe help him improve the pace a little bit. Got Martin still making his way through the grid there. He's got past their file there, and he's not far away from Uni now. He's within a second. The lap time suggests that he's definitely got the pace to get past. But, well, let's just commentate Hurst Martin there as well.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I was just about to say, oh dear, he's catching up to the back of Uni. They had a very, very intense battle for basically 3/4 of the race last week out, but yeah, that situation now dissolved itself, as now the gap has gone up quite a bit, 7 seconds, and Martin will have a fair bit of damage, and we can see he's actually coming into the pits for a pit stop, but yeah, it does only have 9 litres left,
so it might be a schedule, it might be a tactical choice of just saying, well, I don't want to get stuck behind people, let's just chuck it into the pits, maybe get new tyres, different pressures on, fueled up, ready for the kind of early morning stint, and yeah, see if we can just get going and get back up to speed again.
Inky Chris still trying to get past Ultimate here in the fight for P3.
Did actually lose a second in the last lap there, so I think that was the case of where he did drop back again, but he did catch back up again, so I'm expecting this lap to probably be about a second the other direction in Inky's favour perhaps, or at least matching Ultimate Kazu. Not pulling into pits there, so 12 litres is clearly enough to pull in another lap. I'm guessing it is around about 7, maybe 8 litres a lap. So I suspect these boys will all be coming back in again next lap. And although these boys are all lapping very similar lap times, low 33s or so, they're actually matching Yogurt's pace at the moment. So I'm just wondering if he is maybe trying to fuel save and maybe seeing if he can somehow manage to save enough to avoid a little splash and dash at the end. He's clearly got the pace, he's got a 40-second lead essentially over P2 right now, so he can afford to take it off the gas and maybe even sit behind a back marker and let him draft you along and fuel save even more.
Yeah, usually I expect...
Ultimate Kazi's actually caught up on the back of As Turbo. I don't know if As Turbo's dropped some time somewhere.
Definitely must have. There was a 3-second gap before, and on the last lap they were fairly similar on pace, 7/10 of a difference between the two. But,
can't see any damage, so maybe just a slight half spin or something along those lines. But
yeah, at the moment it looks like the two-way fight for third position might soon become a 3-way fight for second.
Indeed.
Oh
that's
dear.
A bit of a broken car.
Yeah, that's especially hard at the moment because without headlights you can't see anything. Obviously
Indeed.
in the dark.
I think this is pit stop number 3, if not 4 for Eisenschenk. He's not having a good day out today, unfortunately. I'm not sure who else that was in pitting at the same time. I'm guessing it was one of these boys there. I suspect he has been lapped probably for a second time now, the amount of time he's been in the pit. But yes, that's another incident to add to the tally there, unfortunately. Hope they can keep it clean for the rest of the race and bring it home, and maybe catch up on the guys ahead. But that is a massive gap difference. He is an extra lap down even on the car ahead of him. So yeah, I think unless something else happens to other people, which is very easily done, then he's looking like a P23 for the end of this race. Still an hour to go, still plenty of things that can happen to other drivers out there, so certainly worth carrying on regardless, and just do the best you possibly can. Kieran Wink has been serviced and back out again. I think it was Dusty as well in with him, so they're matching each other, coming back out again Ultimate Kazi has dropped the position to Inky Chris. Inky Chris has gotten past. They are right up each other's bumpers there. So we missed the pass, unfortunately, so I apologise for that. But Inky is through. Clearly feels he has the pace to get past and maybe pull away. Ultimate has 15 litres in there, so I suspect he'll be able to go out for another lap at least. Inky Chris has 5, so he may very well be pulling in this one.
Inky Chris
Indeed,
did stop a lap earlier on the last stint, so it
Indeed.
would make sense for him that he has to come in a lap earlier this time around as well. But yeah,
But
we're
we'll check
on
that
lap
gap when they all
21,
come back out again.
so that's where we expected the stops to happen. So Inky Chris stopping on lap 20, and I'm pretty sure the others will come at the end of this lap. Actually, Bogey Fan's already coming in now, so
14 litres left in the tank there, so
possibly some sort of damage he wants to get rid of just
pit
a
early.
little bit
It does
earlier.
look as if that front corner there did look a little bit damaged there, actually. The front right-hand corner, maybe a scraped the wall there perhaps at some point, and feels that it's maybe worthwhile pitting a lap, maybe even 2 laps early, to get that fixed and back out again. Maybe the fuel tank will allow the strategy to let him carry on and pit 2 laps early. So we'll see how that transpires. Watching Smolder there, currently holding P5 there. Obviously there's a couple of cars that have pitted there.
Oh dear.
Tom looking a little bit damaged again.
Yes, not really going his way tonight, and the championship is getting further and further away for the Swedish driver, as he'll have to get some repairs done now. At least it was right before a scheduled pit stop anyways, but it's still going to lose time nevertheless. So
Indeed.
very unfortunate there for him, and at the moment it might be a bit of a struggle for him to even stay in the top 10 if that trend continues.
Indeed, I think this is obviously going to be a case of damage limitation there. He's currently leading the championship there with an 18-point lead. That is pretty much guaranteed to be a lot smaller by the end of the night there, if not switching to Yogurt's favour there. He's definitely looking favourite to win tonight there, again holding a 40-second lead over P2 at the moment there, just under 1 hour and 10 minutes to go. So we'll see what Tom can do and see if he can keep this thing all nice and clean for the rest of the race and get back on track and put in the good lap times and maybe catch back up again with a few cars ahead. Car serviced, fueled up, possibly new tyres on there, and good to go.
Stephen Curry, the next one to come into the pits.
Oh.
Looks like
I don't know if that's new damage or potentially previous damage.
definitely some scrapes
or
on
not.
that car.
I'm guessing it's old damage because it was a scheduled time to come in, so whatever it was, I don't think it was enough to cause him to come in early. The lap time being 3 minutes 50 is not that far off other people on their in lap, although maybe it is 5 seconds off other people around him. JG doing a 3:45, Stefan doing a 3:50. So maybe there was a new incident on there. I think he's actually inside GG, sharing a pit stall.
Did something happen to Inky Chris? He's down into P6. Crab is
Well,
now
he pitted. He pitted early, so he pitted the last lap.
Oh yes.
So he's
yes,
got a nice full tank,
Sorry.
more or less.
Yes,
Ultimate
there
is
we go.
coming
Ultimate into the pits.
so-
That was what I was waiting for. There we go.
Indeed.
I'm surprised Yogurt and S-Turbo stayed out. I mean, Ultimate also still has 8 litres in the tank, so that might have been close to being able to do another lap. Oh, that was quite a slide there from Yogurt. Could see how early he put the power down, wasn't even halfway through that corner. And he's catching up to a couple of back markers here. So maybe he's wishing he had stopped on the last lap, because that will cost him a bit of time. But he definitely has a good buffer that he can play with.
We'll see where Ultimate comes out once he is all serviced and good to go, because Inky Chris will be coming through the final couple of corners, crosses the line, and Ultimate is not even moving yet. And now he gets underway, but Inky has definitely gained a fairly sizable handful of seconds, probably close to about 10 seconds by the time Ultimate actually leaves the pit lane there. Indeed, that's a very large gain in the favour of Inky Chris. Again, we don't know what the tyre situation is. Maybe Inky has not changed tyres and he's keeping the original set back on again, and Ultimate has changed tyres, so we'll see what the lap times give after they've all done their out laps. Crab also in the pit.
Car looking nice and tidy. That's exactly what you want after 75-80 minutes of racing. Cameron B, our Orica driver, in the pits as well. Always good to see that car on screen. Nice livery. Indeed. And a beautiful car as he is in for a stop. He's currently sitting in P20, so there is a chance of getting points tonight, as the top 20 do get points rewarded, and then there's an extra point for a fastest lap and a pole position.
I could probably put money on where those 2 points are going. Well, certainly pole, that's not any doubt, but let's have a quick wee overview of the standings at the moment there. So we have Yogurt currently leading the race there with a healthy, well, it's actually dropped down from 40-second lead. I don't know if he's being held up by some of these back markers that he's having to navigate, but As Turbo certainly keeping the decent lap times coming in, keeping that gap from extending too far, but it would be a pretty massive achievement for him to be able to catch back up, as Yogurt does indeed pull into the pits there. No damage, 1.5 litres left in the tank there, perfectly scheduled, and maximising his stint length as far as he possibly can. He's still going to have to pit again there, because we're looking at around about a 40-minute stint, and there is just under an hour and 5 to go, so they'll all need to be pitting again after this stint. But it's always a tactical choice to go as far as you can, because you never know when you might need to pit or something might happen unexpectedly, so staying out as long as possible can certainly help you in the long run. As Turbo joined him in the pit lane there, 2.5 litres left in his tank there. It sounds like that was perhaps Yogurt just getting underway again there, so pretty much a full pit stop ahead of As Turbo at the moment, give or take 5 or 10 seconds or so. Smolder with just under 2 litres left in his tank, he's going to be pulling it in this time around, and we'll see if Inky gets up into P3, because he's not that far ahead. Smolder just coming to a pit limited speed and into a halt now. Inky Chris is coming through the final corner, crossing the line very shortly, puts himself back into P3, and as Turbo is also still static, Inky pulls himself into P2.
So Inky Chris moving up in that pit rotation. As
per last time as well, so he's definitely seems to have this strategy on point. He's gained several positions on both stops now by the looks of things.
Absolutely. Asturbo now out in a 3rd position, and looks like he came out just ahead of Ultimate. And yeah, that's the gap. So close call for Asturbo to not drop out of the podium positions, as yeah, that's a very close gap. There's some traffic involved as well, so it's going to be interesting to see whether Asturbo can actually fend off Ultimate there. Ultimate will have a bit warmer tyres, and oh no, that's Ultimate into the wall there. German onto the curb and gets that spin to the left-hand side into the barriers, and that's going to be a lot of damage, and he's just done his stop 1 lap ago, so that's the worst timing that you can have. Surely
beginning of the
he'll
lap
need...
as well. So that's a long, slow lap. That is going to be hemorrhaging time and positions, I suspect. He just lost the rear on that fast right-hander there, coming onto the Michelin straight, and yeah, it just went away from him and pointed towards the wall. And at that point, he's pretty much a passenger. Not sure which one it is that's coming into the pits here. Looks as if it's Fat Scouts. 3.1 litres left, so timing that quite well. Crab gaining a position on, was it Kierwick, as he's, oh no, sorry, other way around, as he's coming through to carry on his crusade for more positions. It was Crab that was coming into the pit.
Kierwick having a fairly decent race.
70 litres on his tank. Why is Crab coming into the pit? It was a very quick stop. I don't know that they did anything there. I am confused.
No idea what's going on there, to be fair. That was the oddest thing. I can't quite gather what it would be that is basically a in and out situation. If you forgot something, okay, but I mean, what would that be? I don't think it's damage. That will take way longer. They didn't change tires. They didn't put any fuel in. So very interesting situation.
Maybe he knows
here.
something that we don't, but I'm very confused as to that tactical choice of a stop and go, essentially. So odd. Okay.
Very odd
keep an eye on that one.
indeed.
A 5 minutes and 57 seconds lap. Even for an in lap, which you're probably looking at around a 4 minute something, that was almost 6 minutes.
Maybe driver change. Right, Oni. Yeah, maybe. Or I don't know. Unplug and plug wheel back in or something. I have no idea.
And yet he's still in P12 at the moment with a 6 minute lap time on the previous one, so fair play. Keep at it. You've clearly got pace. Yeah. Tom's recovery drive there. He's currently P8 still there, but he does have Uni in front of him. And look, Uni's car's not broken.
Yeah, Uni up into 7th. Has kind of crept his way up into that position. So good job there from Uni. Followed by Tomahawks, and then the next car behind is 12 seconds away. That's Kiernick, who's having a good race. Currently equaling his best finishing position of the season. Ultimate's coming into the pit.
I don't think that is 61 litres left, so that must be fresh damage again.
It looked like there was a bit of crab angle going on, so possibly broken suspension.
I don't know if the aero damage was new, but there's definitely something, because there would be no real reason to be coming into the pit stop that soon after he'd just served when he has.
He won't be able to go to the end either, as we have just under 1 hour remaining now, and stint is about 40 minutes.
Indeed. There's some very odd choices happening, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean the weirdest explanation would just be came in accidentally, lost concentration.
You wouldn't stop in your stall. You just carry on. If you.
Very odd indeed. I hope he's available for interviews after the race, so we can ask what happened there.
Yeah.
That would be very interesting to know, as it's starting to get light again here at the Circuit de la Sarthe.
Indeed.
Still following Tomahawks here, who's just behind Uni, and I think someone must have stopped because Uni is now in P6, Tomahawks in 7th. So they both gained a spot, and Tomahawk's trying to line up the move.
Wasn't it? He's that unscheduled stop that he's just served just now.
Yes.
And was he P3 or 4?
He was in 4th, I think.
Yeah.
He had dropped behind AS Turbo after the pit stops.
Indeed. So that's Tom's damage limitation one step higher up the rankings there. And Bogafran's right on the back of Turbo, so whichever way Turbo went with tyres, it wasn't the masterstroke that I was hoping it was going to be, but still certainly able to hold his own there. It's certainly easier to follow somebody in the draft around Le Mans than it is to get past and pull away from somebody. So Turbo on his outlap still, so we'll see if he gets back up to racing speed and is able to pull away from Bogafrans again, or whether Bogafrans is on a mission to catch back up onto that podium spot. 3:33 from Bogafrans last time around. Obviously a very good solid lap time there on some, I suspect, fresh tyres with a relatively full tank. Inky Chris still comfortable in P2 right now, with an 18-second gap to Turbo behind him. So he is playing a tactical genius race at the moment now, just gaining so many positions in each of those pit stops. Clearly worked out a bit of a masterful strategy at the moment, and still able to back it up with very solid and very respectable lap times.
Absolutely, very good driving there from Inky Chris at the moment.
And in fact, he's also gained up a fair advantage over Yogurt, because that gap Yogurt had over P2 was 40 seconds. And it's now just 30 seconds, so he's gained at least a 10-second advantage over Yogurt. Again, maybe Inky changed tyres on the first stop and didn't change them this time around. Aiming to use the same set of tyres over the night stints and not have to change them again until it starts heating back up again later on in the afternoon. But yeah, we'll see if he can keep that pace up, and I think it'll be a pretty tall order for him to be catching up on Yogurt to the point where he can challenge. But yeah, if you're able to gain at least 10 seconds every stint through pit stops, then that's pretty massive.
Yeah, well, we won't get a much clearer picture until the last pit rotation, which is still quite a bit away, as we had the second round of pit stops just a couple of minutes ago. We can see Turbo has now lost that podium position to Bogafrans into the second Mulsanne hairpin, but possibly Turbo getting another good run out of there, and with a chance to overtake into Mulsanne. He'll have to go to the outside. Then there's that fast kink coming up. He's holding it around the outside. He's not very late on the brakes though, as he was a bit
good
behind.
Drive, good exit though, with the draft. I think this is probably that he was just lining up, trying to force Bogafrans to go defensive to compromise his line, and then try and get a good exit and a slingshot and get that draft to go past on this straightaway, which he's on the outside. He has a nose ahead, he's got a full car ahead as he turns into the very fast right hand through Indianapolis.
Very well done from Turbo. So had just lost the position, and then just the next corner to line up a move, and then the corner after that to get the move done.
Almost went into the back of him there, so managed to get away with it, but definitely compromised his corner. Still within draft distance, I suspect, at that stage, but yeah, that was certainly a very close one there, nearly going into the back of Turbo.
Yeah, Bogafrans not being able to use his possible pace tonight, with small mistakes here and there, although I do know he sometimes struggles with frame drops, so I don't know if that might be an issue tonight. But yeah, at the moment he's down in fourth, not as high up possibly as he would want to be. Looking at Tomahawk struggling a bit, with a good result, he could follow Yogurt to get past Tomahawk in the championship, and then the two would be able to fight it out at the last round. And it looked like a bit of a cut there from Bergerfranz in the Ford chicanes. Not quite sure if that would give him a slowdown from the game or not, but yeah, at the moment dropped back a bit from Asturbo and has to stick with P4 for the moment.
Indeed, just catching up an average point here. Currently holding P17 there, looking at the lap times. He's a healthy 4 seconds quicker than Deerfile in front, so he's certainly on a mission to try and catch pass. And he's made a fair bit of distance under braking into that chicane there, so he's well inside the draft here. We'll see if he's got enough of a good exit to challenge before the next chicane. I suspect probably not at this stage, but he might be trying to just line himself up. Maybe not even for the exit of the chicane, but the next long straight after the Michelin corner at the end. Just showing himself, presenting himself in the mirrors just to say, I'm here, be on your guard, I'm coming through, I'm quicker. So just trying to distract the car ahead, see if he can put him into a mistake, because it's a lot easier to get past somebody if they make a mistake than having to do it the natural way. Pulls out from the draft, onto the left hand side, on the long way round the corner. Can he get the braking done? And I think that is just Deerfile once again submitting to the faster car and just saying, I'm not going to fight you, you carry on.
So good job there from Average Boy, putting the pressure on. Bergerfranz still pressuring Asturbo. We've done more than 90 minutes of racing so far, so more than we have ever done in this season. So this is now the stage as the second day here in France begins. This is now the stage where focus is going to get ever more important to try and keep concentration up, not make any mistakes, because these could be very costly. You can see the barriers are not far away from the racetrack, and at the moment Bergerfranz not quite close enough to Asturbo to try and make a move back into third. Can't basically get revenge on what Asturbo did at this point of the lap, one lap earlier.
See if he makes the same potential mistake into the braking zone for this one. He's a little bit more cautious this time there, maybe a bit aware of Asturbo's braking points, that maybe caught him out a little bit the last time around. Keeps him close enough for this little sprint down this straightaway here before the Porsche chicane. We'll see. I suspect he's just going to sit behind at this stage there. There's not really much point in overtaking right here. It's just not going to happen. There's pretty much just a single ideal line through these sections, but he is definitely all over the back of the car ahead. Again, also maybe carrying a little bit more downforce to be faster through the corners, because he'll be in the dirty air here. So he was able to keep very close on the back of Asturbo there.
Absolutely, that seems to be the way it is. We've seen him carrying quite a bit more speed through the Porsche curves than cars that were around him, so that would suggest that indeed he is running higher downforce. Also, that's a bit of a safety net, obviously, for small mistakes. If you have a bit more downforce, obviously there's a
there's a little bit of lag happening there.
Yeah, I saw that as well. It confused me too. But yeah, with a bit more downforce, obviously, it takes a bit more to lose all grip and fly off track. So that can help.
I think we found who it is.
Yeah, it's Fat Scout. That's very unfortunate. So not quite sure if he's still connected to the session or what happened there.
I suspect that's going to be a disconnect before long, unfortunately there. Sad to see him surviving pretty much 3/4 race distance, or at least 2/3 race distance before disconnection issues. Bergerfranz having a look up the inside again. I don't think he's really going to try and make a move there. And again, it's a tactical choice as to when to try and overtake, because you don't want to overtake and then be on another long straightaway where Asturbo will then get a draft and retake the position again, as per last time. So it's you've got to be pretty smart about how you will take somebody, rather than just a case of I'm faster, I'm going to go for it. So in this situation here, is he going to be able to outbrake? they're pretty much matched. They're going to side by side, too wide through this chicane here. Who's going to get the better exit? It looks as if As Turbo actually had the drive out the corner there from the inside line, and Bogafans does indeed tuck back in and sit behind As Turbo there. See if he can get a bit more draft, carrying a little bit more speed, and have a crack at the tight right hand at the end. He's having a look. He's positioned his car up on the inside. Is he going to be able to outbrake? He does brake later. As Turbo is holding a little bit of trying looking for a cutback in case he outbraked himself. Which he did not, but he did get a little bit squiggly on the exit, which has allowed As Turbo to get the run on him. He's moved out from the draft. He takes the inside line for the fast right-hander. Has he got enough speed and momentum to get past before the braking zone? He does have the position. If he's brave enough to keep a hold of it, it is his, and he does indeed once again steal the position back again. So I think it was perhaps a case of, and it almost is a mirror image of before, where he nearly ran into the back again on the heavy braking zone into the tight right-hander there. But I think he needs to learn from this and understand that that's not the place to overtake As Turbo, because he has a chance to fight back again. So he needs to do it at the place where it then, ideally here, where it then leads into Porsche curves. And he has the downforce to maybe even pull away from As Turbo through this twisty section. But yeah, that's twice now he's got past, but then unfortunately As Turbo's well, not unfortunately, but As Turbo has managed to be in the right place and get a good drive out that corner and take the position back again.
Looks like we have got a bit of a pessimist in chat. Glimazoo Racing saying this could end in tears. We hope it doesn't. It's a great battle so far. We can see Bergfans is still right on the back of As Turbo, but again he'll have to think about where he wants to overtake. He has to be strategic, because we've seen otherwise As Turbo will just get him straight back, and there will be no position gained for Bergfans. And again, he almost runs into the back of the car ahead in the corners. So the downforce definitely giving him an advantage there, but making overtaking ever so difficult for the Norwegian driver. And obviously getting overtaken is easier, or basically for others it's easier to overtake him. Again, he gets a good run out of Tetra Rouge, and he might think about going side by side here, but I bet even if he does get past, he'll just get re-overtaken into the next chicane. We'll have to wait and see. He is about a car length back, and he is on the outside, so surely he's going to back out of this one. No, he's keeping his foot in at the moment. He's trying to hold around the outside, and it looks like there might have been a bit of contact, but it did get the move done. But again, it seems As Turbo with the better run out of the corner, and already pulls to the side. They're side by side, and I think As Turbo should have enough of a run to get back past. And yes, there we go. He's already back in front. Bergfans has to tuck in behind, and didn't gain anything. He does have a look to the inside,
but he's not close enough on this occasion. There, I think he may have learned his lesson a little bit. Maybe he has figured out that. Yes, you might be able to get past him here, but it's not going to hold you the position. He needs to be getting that position just before the Porsche curves, ideally, because that's where As Turbo will not really be able to steal the position back again in the draft. So he might be having a look here, but again, I don't think this is the best place to go for it. Perhaps at the end of this straight, if he gets a good drive out of here, which he does, so he might be looking at having a go, but for me, I would personally just sit behind him at this stage and just try and get that drive out of the corner, leading on to the Porsche curves, try and get that position so that As Turbo cannot fight back again.
So it looks like
side by side.
Yeah, he should be able to get past, although it looks like he's been out of the slipstream for so long that he did lose ground again as they go side by side into Indianapolis. And actually Bergfans overtaking around the outside there. So good job, but now As Turbo again has another straight to get past Bergfans, and this is going to be crucial. As Turbo got a bad run out of Anage as they come down the straight to the Porsche curves, and that is where Bergfans' car is strong. So if he can stay ahead, which looks very likely now, he can use the Porsche curves to try and break out a gap so he's far enough ahead to stay ahead of Asturbo, and I think that's what we're seeing right now. On board here with Asturbo, you can see struggling in the dirty air, has to lift quite a bit to stay on the track, and he's now a second behind Bergerfans, so you can see how much time he lost there trying to follow another car. But Bergerfans is now running into traffic. That's the last thing he wants. These couple of chicanes could have helped him as well, plus the first couple of corners at the start of the lap, but he's been held up. That cost him a couple of tenths. He does pull to the inside now to try and lap the car. I think that might be Deafile. And yeah, at the moment it looks like Asturbo. Ooh, that was very close. Nearly got washed out by the dirty air into the lap car. And yeah, even though Bergerfans did catch up in a very inconvenient spot, it looked like Asturbo came out worse of the two, and is now 1.3 seconds behind. So possibly he's out of DRS range now. 1.6 seconds, yeah, I think that... did I say DRS? I meant slipstream. Out of slipstream range, as the gap is now 1.8 seconds. That's exactly what Bergerfans needed to use the quick corners there at the end and start of the lap to get that gap and not instantaneously get re-overtaken by Asturbo. So,
indeed, this is where Asturbo is going to be stronger though on the straights, but as you see, I think the gap is just a little bit too much now. That he will not be getting the advantage of that draft to tow him along. So I think that could very well be job done by Bergerfans. Took a couple of attempts, a couple of laps to figure out the best way to do it, but he did eventually have a pace to get through and carry on.
So question is now, the gap is 30 seconds to Inky Chris ahead. What is the pace for Bergerfans? Is he going to be able to catch up and challenge for second, or will he have to settle for third? Uni coming into the pits, 0.7 litres left in the tank.
40 minutes to go. It could be quite close to see if he will make it to the end on this. He was obviously trying to do that extra lap and get as much out of this tank as he could, so that he can, because the issue will be is if Yogurt starts a lap just before the time runs out, then that's another lap he has to do, so that 40 minutes might need to be 44 minutes. So it could be very close for Uni. See if he gets away with this. He's stalled it by the sound of things. Okay, got back going again there. Currently in P10 there, just dropped down to 11 and maybe 12. There's Ticklish coming through, he is indeed. He is up to speed. He's still to stop, still, but and we're thinking that Uni might still make it, but that I think is going to be rather close.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be very close. Just putting it out there, the LMP2 or the Orica race I participated in, Yogurt was in as well, and Yogurt was very quick, so we did one lap more than I had calculated, so I ran out of fuel in the bus stop at Spa. So yeah. I know how that feels, and Uni does not want that to happen. So let's see how it works out. But having a look at things, he's now 3 minutes 30 behind Yogurt, so possibly he'll get lapped and get that lap back. So we'll have to wait and see. We've got Fat Scout and Summer Body in chat. Good evening. His game crashed and it threw him out of the lobby. That's very unfortunate.
We did see it having connection issues there by the looks of things. When we saw it, what looked to be lag issues, but obviously it looks as if it was we'll call it a mechanical issue with your car, which forced the retirements. But such is the hardship of sim racing. Connection problems and game problems can put an end to the fun, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's at least how I always view it. Also, when I'm a driver, when I'm participating, is disconnecting or game crashes or stuff like that, that's basically just the sim racing equivalent of having a mechanical failure out of nowhere. It just unfortunately sometimes happens.
Indeed. Now, Yogurt's actually got his gap to Inky up to 52 seconds now, which was 30 seconds or so not that long ago. So Inky's still got it's actually a 12-second gap to Bogafran's now, and I'm sure that was closer to 30. So I wonder if Inky has had an issue somewhere. He's only 10 litres left in the tank. Now, he has been pitting a lap or even 2 laps before other people. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do another lap on this tank, so he might have to stop this lap. And because he's been pitting a little bit earlier than everyone else, I think he should still be able to do it, because it's probably going to be close to at least another 2 minutes before he comes in to stop, if he does indeed have to stop this lap, which I think he will. So there'll still only be 33, 34 minutes left. But again, if Yogurt crosses that line just before the timer runs out, then there could be a lot of people being caught out by having to do that extra lap.
The question is, would he actually do that, considering he does have a 52-second gap? So he just slow down a couple of seconds and just take the flag.
The sensible choice would be to indeed slow down and cross the line just ahead of Inky, just enough to take the win after the timer runs out. But
yeah. I mean, it could be a strategic choice to continue on if he does have enough fuel, and hoping that perhaps one of his rivals runs out and loses a bunch of points. So I'm not quite sure how Yogurt's thinking works, but that is definitely, these are the 2 options that are out there. We'll have to wait and see how the situation presents itself, as Stephen Cameron running a bit wide there at the exit of the Porsche curves.
He's
Dusty
got a
is in the
50-second gap, so as long as the clock has less than 50 seconds, then that's certainly a viable option to just drop back and take that guaranteed win. It might even depend on his fuel rate, fuel tank at that stage, but he's certainly got enough fuel certainly for another 2, maybe even 3 laps. So he's going to be perfectly comfortable in terms of getting to the end after the next stop. Plenty of time there. Bogafran is indeed in now with 9 litres, so he probably still had enough fuel to do another lap, but he's decided to bring it in and top it up for the rest of the race. We'll see how much fuel he comes out with. I'm not sure what a full tank is. I think it's in the region of 75 litres.
Yes, it is.
So he may not need the full 75 litres unless Yogurt puts in that extra lap again. So it's a tactical choice here to is indeed the full 75 litres he's put in there. So we'll see if other people are filling it to the top again, or seeing if they're getting their maths correct and able to figure out and work out the optimal fuel levels, so that they're not overfueling it and spending time static in the pits, putting in fuel that they don't need.
So I've been seeing that slowly but surely more and more drivers do have a red number in front of their name,
Indeed.
and we've got Kiki Mac also asking about the penalties, so let's have a quick look. You can see Tomahawks has 2 seconds, Ultimate Kaiser the same, Crab with 14, and Uni with 52 seconds of penalties. So you'll definitely lose a couple of positions at the end of the race. Kierannik 2 seconds, Dusty 4, Stephen Carey has 10, JJ has 6, Average Boy has 12, Deophile has 1 second. So that's the top 16 with their penalties. We can scroll down and have a look at the other ones.
We've got Cameron with a 3-second penalty. We've got Gnome in with 2-second penalties, and Eisenschenk also with 2-second penalty as well there. So yeah, we've got the 17th down to 21st have completed 29 laps there. it looks as if Yogurt has lapped everybody up until P8 at the moment, but some of those have maybe served an extra pit stop at the moment compared to Yogurt, so we'll see how that pans out at the end. But yeah, again, looking at the lap times there, Yogurt's done a 3-minute 30 on that lap. Just looking at his best lap was a 3:29.8, so he's literally 0.2 of a second off his fastest lap this far through a stint, which is towards the end. Okay, the fuel load's getting a lot lighter, so there's less weight to be throwing around the track, but the tyres are getting more and more worn. So he's in the groove, he's comfortable, he's putting in these super terrific fast lap times. Sometimes it would be a case of, yes, you can afford to ease off and take things easy and just kind of make sure you don't make any mistakes and throw an easy win away. But sometimes taking these laps not at full racing pace can lead to issues in terms of braking is slightly different, carrying 0.4 litres left from Inky there, so he was stretching that tank to its limit. Plenty of time left still now to get to the end, but that might have been so that he doesn't need to fill the full 75 litres. So we'll see what he leaves his pit garage with. He might be trying to gain as much as he can. I think he had about an 19 second gap over As Turbo. So we'll see what he pulls away with. I think he is just maxing that tank out. 75 litres indeed, so not taking any risks. He had that 18-second gap in front on top of As Turbo, so he can afford to not have to gamble and take a smaller fuel load on board. But we'll see what As Turbo does, whether he tries to almost undercut him by not sitting static for quite as long in the pit stop. Both As Turbo and Smolder on similar fuel levels there, so they might manage to eke out another lap, but I suspect they will be coming in. In fact, Smolder's just coming out onto Musselman Straight there, so he's not long started this lap. I suspect he will be coming in this lap. The car is actually in between are the battling for positions at the moment, so
it's a bit awkward spot to be in.
Doesn't want to be tripping himself up there in that little fight.
No, especially since Smolder is a bit in a bit of a land of his own. He's had a very big gap in front and behind as well, so there's no good reason to get into trouble there for him, as Tomber Hawks now coming into the pits, currently sitting in 7th, so looks like the last couple of minutes have gone a bit better for him than towards the first part of the race.
I think he was holding about 8th once all those pit stops had kind of settled themselves out there, so he's gained at the moment, but there could very well be somebody behind that has already stopped, perhaps. Just looking at the fuel loads, we know Uni came in relatively recently there. Ticklish Pickle Wickle there, he's certainly going to need to stop very shortly, perhaps on this one. I suspect he might try and eke out another lap, but at this point, is it worth the risk? Let's just play safe. 8-second gap to Union Front, only 2 seconds to Uranic behind him, so indeed he decides to play safe and bring that in. Crab also in. He is currently P9 there, so Uni gets back up into P8. Ticklish Pickle Wickle joins him in the pit, but Crab will certainly get released back out onto track a lot sooner than Crab will get released, than Ticklish Pickle Wickle will get released, sorry.
So that moves Kiernick back up into 9th. He already has made his last stop, his third and final one. Crab also exiting quick with a full tank. Interestingly enough, I think at this point you could consider putting a couple of litres less in, as we have 27 minutes remaining, let's say with another lap on top, so a maximum of 30 minutes of racing. So not a full tank required anymore, but I guess better be safe than sorry. Asturbo coming in. He's got 8.6 litres left, so also playing it safe.
I guess it's a case of judging by the gap to the cars in front and behind, but with just over 25 minutes to go, okay, potentially with another 3.5 minutes added onto that, if Yogurt has to do an extra lap again, you're looking at half an hour. If a full 75 litres is generally lasting 40 minutes, then you should be able to kind of take a quarter of a tank out and still manage that 30 minutes. So yeah, indeed, Asturbo has came out with 60 litres as opposed to full 75. So he is going for that tactic of trying to gain by spending less time static. He comes back out into 4th position. Smolder is in the pit. Let's just see what he comes out with in terms of fuel. It looks like he has also gone for the 60 litres. So they're not only racing and trying to put in these lap times and navigate traffic and so on, they're also having to do this mathematics of figuring out fuel rates and how much time's got left, and if there's going to be an extra lap or so, and trying to optimize that pit strategy to not have to be sitting there overfueling the car.
Typhile looks like he is getting overtaken.
Looks like it.
Once again. He does have JJ ahead, although I think that was him being lapped, so JJ is still right there.
Vogelbrand's going past, I think, just putting an extra lap on him there.
Exactly.
But he has got up on Typhile there, and Typhile is actually very close to JJ in front. So it's a little bit of a three-way fight here. Let's see if we can keep our eyes on that one.
Yeah, a bit of a cluster there with two different groups battling with each other, while one of them is lapping the other. Yogurt, race leader, into the pits on lap 33, 1.1 litres left in the tank. Again, running it right down to the last drop. And let's see how much he'll put in. He's got 24 minutes remaining, approximately, when he comes out. So that's almost only half the time the previous stints were. So possibly, I don't know, maybe 55-ish, 50-ish litres?
I would say that's probably not far away. There you go.
55! Right, there we go. So good guess.
Indeed. It's a JJ being hunted down by the two cars behind him there. You've got Typhile right in the middle of these three cars right now. You just got to be careful. It looks as if Average Boy is having a look up the inside, which he just lets him go, as he has done throughout this race this evening. Just playing safe, and that is why you play safe, because somebody can be faster and get past you, but if they stuff it in the wall afterwards, then you're just going to get that time back. That is Inky Chris. It's not Inky Chris behind. That's me going back to our Nissan Orica days. It's actually Cameron B just behind him, which will be a lap down. But yeah, Average Boy just getting it a little bit wrong on the exit there and making contact with the wall. I'm not sure how much damage he's got, but he has very much made a big error of judgment, and he has retired. He's parked it with 23 minutes to go and a healthy amount of fuel in the tank. I don't know why he's calling it a day there. It wasn't a fantastic position in terms of the overall results, but you've got to take these points when you can get them, and you never know that might drop him down the order a fair amount. So, strange decision with 20 minutes to go, but yeah, that's what he's decided to do. Typhile comes in by himself with 9 litres left. Let's see if he can gain any further positions, but yes, it's worth just playing safe and avoiding any incidents and just bringing the car home clean.
Just for the record, Burger Friends now also with a penalty towards his name, so that might play a role. It's currently only 1 second, and I think the gap behind is 1.5 currently. There we go, 1.6, so that's something we'll have to watch out for. That could decide a podium position. We've got someone in chat called Project Cars. I'm not quite sure if that's the official account, but if it is, good evening. And yeah, we're over 2 hours into this race now, 21 minutes remaining, and currently it's looking very likely that Jogek is going to win, but there's we're not at the end yet, and I think Inky Chris is being honed in. I think he might have made some sort of mistake. You can see Bogey fans in the slipstream there, but there is a car between them, a lap car.
Back marker in between.
That might be
either
Crab
or Stefan Carey.
Exactly.
Not sure which one, but he's put it too much on the exit.
And another mistake from Bogey Friends.
And he's been too eager to get the power down to get going again, and he's dropped it again. That could very well be Inky Chris's lifeline to certainly keep the podium, because it looks like As Turbo is not too far away. The stealthy ninja black car getting out the way there. I'm not sure if that is which one that is. Is it Crab? No, it's not Crab, so it must be Stefan. Indeed it is.
So,
but yeah,
another mistake there from Bogey Friends.
There.
Yeah, another 2 mistakes actually. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, very unfortunate, and that's really hurting Burger Friends. I wonder if you add everything up, that how much time that adds, but it's probably like 20-30 seconds that have added up so far with Bogey Friends' mistakes. So he's now outside.
A little bit deep on there. Now this is where As Turbo has went for the lower fuel load to gain time in the pits, and it could very well be doing him a world of good, because he was a fair gap away from Inky prior to the pit stops. He's currently holding just shy of 50 litres there. Inky holding a little bit more there, 55 now, but As Turbo definitely spent less time in the pit, because Inky filled up pretty much to the top, I believe, and As Turbo just went out with about 60 litres. So we'll see if As Turbo now has the pace to catch up with Inky and steal that second position away from him. And if it is, it would have been perhaps just a slight miscalculation by Inky of filling that tank up to the top when it was not needed. So just over 20, or just under 20 minutes to go now, so that is generally about half a stint. So that would be equivalent of around about 35 to maybe 40 litres. As Turbo looking healthy with 47, depending on if Jogek has another lap to do. Inky looking healthier in terms of fuel, so he's probably hoping that Jogek does have to do an extra lap. But with a 1 minute 17 second lead over Inky Chris, there's certainly a very high possibility that Jogek will just coast over the line and take that guaranteed win, even though he's comfortable with fuel as well. 44 litres in his machine. Inky may have enough pace, but it was a 3:34 in the last lap against As Turbo's 3:32, so it's pretty much 2 seconds he is taken out of Inky's lead, and he is only just over 2 seconds behind Inky now. So this is the last charge. See if he's got the pace to keep going and catch up with Inky. Inky, I guess, is at this stage really praying that there's going to be an extra lap that As Turbo has not calculated for, but I think our mathematics suggested that As Turbo did take enough to even come home with an extra lap if Jogek does indeed beat the clock once again.
Yeah, As Turbo definitely having the race of the season so far. Hasn't been on the podium in any of the other races. 3 P5s and 1 P6 so far, so this would be the best result of the season for him. and currently the gap to Inky Chris is now under 2 seconds. As he, I don't know, that looked like a bit of a weird line, very slow on the apex, and again lost a couple of seconds coming out of Mulsanne corner.
Indeed, it is definitely going to be a race to the end. 17 minutes left there, so we're looking at 3.5 minutes for a lap, so we're probably still looking at another 5 laps or so. Depending on when Yogurt does indeed cross that line. So, yep, still to play for. We'll see if that gap does indeed look to be still reducing a little bit very slowly, but probably at a rate that is good enough for Asturbo to catch him within a couple of laps or so. And the closer he gets, the more draft he's going to get, so the faster he's going to be. So that gap, I think, is possibly just going to get smaller and smaller over the next lap or so.
Yeah, so on the last lap, Asturbo 2 seconds faster compared to Inky Chris. I think it will be less this time around, because I believe Inky Chris was held up by traffic a little bit. But we'll definitely have an eye on the lap times once they cross the line, as they come into the last section of the track now. Just 2 more chicanes to go, and then they'll cross the line, and then we'll have a reference time how this lap went for the 2 competitors.
Indeed. Neither of the top 3 having any kind of time penalties added onto them there, so Asturbo looks if he's gained a second. Again, there may have been a little bit of traffic there that they both had to navigate, but perhaps it just worked out a little bit better for Asturbo. Inky has got to be feeling the pressure now, seeing that Asturbo is definitely catching, and I suspect Asturbo does seem to have a slightly faster pace than Inky is at this stage in the race.
Arnold asking, does it have 2 people who take turns, or is there only 1? I believe that's you're asking about the drivers. It is 1 driver for the whole race. Project Cars doesn't support driver changes, unfortunately. So 1 driver drives the whole 2.4 hours, which is quite the stint for a single person. I speak out of experience from driving in the endurance leagues. You do feel it after 2.5 hours of racing, that's for sure.
It's just a sprint race, 2.5 hours. When you start doing 12-hour races, then you can start seeing that you get tired.
Yeah, that's that throws me back to Trackmania days. Anywho, 40 minutes remaining. Gap is now down to 1.2 seconds. Eisenschenk is, I think, 5th unscheduled pit stop. Again, some damage on the car. He'll need to get repaired. He does have enough fuel in the tank, so I hope he remembered to switch off refueling. As Asturbo getting past, I think that's Deofile, lapping him there, and has lost a little bit of time behind the lapped car, but still the gap is 1.5 seconds, so should be getting some slipstream very soon, and then
Indeed.
The gap should come down even more.
Yeah, a big healthy amount of time gains over that last little sector there. Maybe even taking advantage of the draft of the back marker there down that back straight. So yeah, well within a second now, and at this stage he will be gaining the draft. We know that Asturbo seems to perhaps have a lower downforce on his setup. It does seem to be a little bit quicker than some of the other cars out there on the straights. So this is where he needs to be gaining as much as he can before coming through to that twistier section to the Porsche curves. Inky at this stage, I think it's at a point where it's going to be rather difficult to defend for another 2 or 3 laps, or 3 or 4 laps, I suspect, in fact. Coming into the Porsche curves now, this is where Asturbo's probably not quite got the setup to his advantage, and maybe this is where Inky Chris' car does behave a little bit better, but it's not enough of an advantage to be pulling away and getting Inky away from that draft advantage that Asturbo's going to hold on. in the next couple of sectors.
Definitely not the same advantage that Bogeyfans has going through the Porsche curves. You can see actually through the two chicanes here, Asturbo catching up by a couple of tenths. He's got just one twisty bit to go here at the start of the lap until they get onto the Mulsanne, and then slipstream should take full effect. As you can see, the gap continuously coming down, and at the moment it's looking very good for Asturbo. Last lap around gained another second on Inky Chris, 33.3 versus 32.3 as they now come through Tetra Rouge, and now the question is, where will Asturbo try and overtake? He has learned a lot, I think, in the battle with Bogeyfans, where it might be a good idea to get an overtake done without giving your opponent a chance of re-overtaking. But at the moment he's going for it.
He's taking the inside line. He's going to hold on as much as he can, but I think that speed advantage he has got past, but he has gone over the light line. He does the right thing and it offers that position back again, but it does look as if in the next within this lap there's a very strong chance that Asturbo will be getting the job done, and probably looks to have the pace to maybe even pull away even when Inky is in the draft.
So coming into the second Mulsanne chicane, again Asturbo trying to get a good exit. Bit of a wiggle there, putting the power down. You can see he's losing quite a bit of time out of there, so that definitely is going to hurt his ambitions. He'll need a good run through the next corner, and then possibly have a chance into Indianapolis, or maybe use Indianapolis and Menage to line up a move before the Porsche curves. Have to wait and see. Bit of a lock up there as they go through that right hand kink, and then onto the brakes. But at the moment, gap 7 tenths, so not quite sure Asturbo will have a chance to get the move done this lap around, but there's still just under 10 minutes remaining to try and get that move done.
I'm just going to have a quick look at see where Yogurt is. So he's just started another lap, and I think if we're looking at 3 minutes 30, then that would work out to be around about 10.5 minutes left. So I think he is going to beat that clock and have an extra lap if he carries on at the pace. It's just a case of whether that 1 minute 18 is enough of a gap to back off and still remain ahead of these two boys in second and third behind him here.
So Yogurt actually not also with a penalty. That is a 2-second one, so shouldn't hurt him too much. But I think sometime earlier in chat, people were surprised they didn't have a penalty yet. I feel like someone might have just lost a bet. Anyways, under 9 minutes now left in the session. Asturbo 8 tenths behind Inky Chris. They're still fighting it out for second place, and this might go right down to the wire. We've seen Asturbo with good pace, but not being able to quite line up a good overtaking opportunity so far. So as we get ever closer to the Mulsanne straight again, Asturbo will try and have another go at that and see if he can get past Inky Chris ahead.
It brings him right within striking range there. I don't think he will want to try and pass before getting onto that long straight, but he'll be just looking at trying to keep it all nice and tidy, keep it as close as he can, get tucked in behind him, get a good exit coming through here, make sure he keeps it on track, which he does. I think he has the straight line speed to maybe even get past him before this first set of chicanes. He did seem to have a good exit there. He is very close behind. You can see the gap getting smaller and smaller. He's going to pull out. Inky's still holding the defensive line. He's not going to just hand over the position. When they're both out of the draft, then I suspect Inky's even going to just say, yep, you got me. I'm going to tuck in behind you and see if I can just follow you. Maybe the draft is going to be enough to keep Inky into contention. Looks as if Asturbo just jumped over to the right just to see if he can break a little bit of toe. But we'll see if we can maybe even go on board with Inky Chris to see if we can check if that gap is getting bigger or if he is able to keep up with him in the draft.
Oh, that was very deep into the corner there from Inky Chris. I think that's going to hurt his exit. And yes, indeed it does. You can see how quickly that gap is getting bigger. And I think that might be game over unless Asturbo makes another mistake. Because I'm very sure that now through the next section, Asturbo is going to continue to open up a gap, and then once they've gone through the Porsche curves and through the Ford chicanes, I think Asturbo should be in a position where he pulled out enough of a gap to break the slipstream for Inky Chris. We'll have to wait and see. We'll never know with racing. We've got 6.5 minutes remaining. Jogek is currently on lap 39. These guys should be still on lap 38. Yes, there we go. Jogek has just started the 39th lap of the race.
Indeed, there you'll be pretty pleased with his performance here. It's not very easy to be quite so much of a gap, although it's 2.5 hours. A 1.5 or 1.25 minute ahead of your nearest competitor, even over 2.5 hours is a pretty large gap. Pretty healthy laps that he's been thrown in there. Look if it's his teammate behind him, perhaps, that he's put another lap on there. But I think he's still in range. We'll see if he is able to keep in contention there, and you never know, it might be a small error from Asturbo. And we've seen it in the past from some of the other drivers there. You don't really get very many small mistakes. They tend to be very quickly big mistakes when you're carrying this much speed. But yeah, it does look as if Asturbo does have the edge. Inky has caught up in that final sector there, but yeah, we'll see if he can keep up and get dragged along in the straight and still have a chance.
Yeah, I wonder if the powertrain plays a role as well, even though these cars do look the same because they're the same chassis. Inky Chris is running the Judd, whereas Asturbo is running a Nissan engine. So I think the Nissan is arguably the one with the most power, so maybe that's why Asturbo had it a bit easier with the overtake compared to Inky Chris trying to get back ahead. But,
indeed, but he is still very close, and the draft here will at least let him keep the gap or prevent it from increasing. He should be able to at least keep up with him in the draft. But I don't think it's going to be close enough or strong enough for him to really mount too much of a challenge just on straight line speed. But we've seen it before where Asturbo struggled a little bit in the dirty air, perhaps. Inky Chris does seem to be managing it very well. A hugely capable driver, both of them indeed. And I'm sure they both have a lot of respect for each other on track. They won't be going for any crazy moves, but yeah, I think it's advantage Asturbo at this stage. But yeah, you can see how close Inky Chris is right now, so it's certainly not over.
Definitely not. 3.5 minutes remaining, so about the amount of time it takes to do one lap around the track. But obviously, Jogek dictates when the race will end, depending on at what point he crosses the start-finish line. At the moment, he's still on lap 39. He should be starting lap 40 soon. There we go.
Indeed.
And he's got just under 3 minutes remaining, so this then will be the last lap of the race. No weird slowing down shenanigans to avoid starting another lap.
Indeed.
And that means we're going to end on lap 40. So these two guys have a bit more than one lap remaining to sort out who's going to finish in second and who's going to finish in third. Currently, I think that might be TPW, lapped car getting in the way here. He's going to stay to the left-hand side, let the two drivers pass. There we go. so these two can continue to fight it out. But at the moment, it's still not decided who's going to finish ahead. It's definitely going to be very close. Both of them are without any penalties at the moment, so that shouldn't play a role. But we'll have to wait and see, as they have a bit more than a lap to go to the end of the race.
Indeed, it's just coming up to the final sector here, just about to start their final lap. Inky has definitely been able to keep in contention here. I was kind of maybe even expecting Asturbo just to pull away a little bit more, but that strong draft has definitely helped Inky keep up the pace there. We'll just see the lap times, but I suspect they're going to be fairly close between the two of them. I suspect 32s again, well, 31 from Asturbo and a low 32 from Inky, so Asturbo was able to just eke a little bit, and it's getting close to that 1 second gap, where Inky will not be able to take advantage of that slipstream, but yeah, still to play for.
Koenig still sitting in 9th here, equaling his best finish this season if he gets this to the end. 60 seconds remaining in the session. We can see Jorg has now gone up to a 3-second penalty, and Uni has 53 seconds, so he'll definitely drop down. We'll have to wait and see where exactly that puts him, but I'd imagine fairly decently outside the top 10 for sure. Tumblehawks has managed to get back up into P6 after having a couple of mistakes and issues earlier, and dropping outside the top 10, I think, even. But has recovered to be back into P6, but I'm pretty sure he's going to lose the championship lead tonight. As we can see, Jorg is now coming through Arnage, and he's going to finish this last lap. I think that's Smolder behind him there, who's just going to follow. No, sorry.
No, not sure who his teammate is there.
That's his teammate then. That's
there's obviously 3 people in the same. Is that Uni?
Uni, yes. Uni, his teammate. So they're actually going to have a teammate finish there, which is nice to see.
He's actually let Uni go. Uni's actually managed to pull away, and he's also just letting. I'm not sure who that is. It's got past again as well. But he's just playing it super safe, bringing it through the final sector there. Just trying to make sure nothing crazy happens with the back marker that ends up destroying his car. But yeah, he probably wants to back off a little bit there, just in case something horrible happens in the last set of corners. But
these two are still fighting for position, so that's maybe why he doesn't want to get involved. But he's coming through the last couple of chicanes now, and that's going to be the win at Le Mans for Jorg. It's his 3rd win of the season. Congrats to him. Great race. He finishes with over a minute of a gap, as Asturbo and Inky Chris are still fighting for second, but it looks like Asturbo is going to have the gap that he wants. 1.3 seconds at the moment, and once he gets to the Porsche curves, there shouldn't be any competition for that second place, so Asturbo would get his first podium of the season. He's just got 1 sector to go. Dusty has also finished the race now in 10th, but he will get, I think, at least one more. Although, if he has been lapped and Uni hasn't, I don't think he's going to gain that position, so we'll have to wait and see. Asturbo coming through the Porsche curves now. Just a couple of corners to go for him to seal his first podium of the season. Good result for the man that's currently in 5th in the championship. Good, decent haul of points for the Spaniard as it comes through the last couple of chicanes. Inky Chris still very close behind, but won't be able to get close enough. So we'll finish in 3rd. So 2nd place for Asturbo, 3rd for Inky Chris. What a battle here at the end of the race. That means that Birger Franz is going to come home in 4th. Did have the potential to finish in 2nd.
Lap times at the end there. He did get a healthy gain, a healthy amount of time on the 2 cars ahead up for the podium, but just not enough laps left in the race for him to catch up and get up there, because he was doing 3:30s at the end there, whereas 32s and 33s for most other people.
Yeah, he definitely had a lot of pace, but just too many mistakes tonight to finish on the podium, so only 4th place. Smolder is going to come home in P5.
Great result for Smolder there as well.
Tomahawks has still a bit of track to go. He'll come home in P6, I think. Doesn't have a huge amount of penalties, if I remember correctly. Only 2 seconds, so he'll be fine. And a good recovery derived from the Swedes, but nevertheless he will lose the championship lead, unfortunately. But he still has a good chance to finish inside the top 3 of the championship.
Indeed, both Yogurt and Bogafran's outscoring him tonight there. So it was a bit of a damage limitation when he had those incidents early on in the race. But a very solid recovery there to bring it in the top 6. Ultimate also didn't have a race quite go his way to plan, but another solid P7 position for tonight as well. And Kiernick also coming through. I think he's coming into Porsche curves now. Yep. And he will be bringing it home in P8. Uni has already finished, and somebody's shredding some bodywork. Don't need that anymore. Race is done. Give it to a souvenir in the crowd. And I'm not sure if Kiernick is going to be the last finisher, if anyone else has already been lapped or not, but he brings it home in a very solid, respectable P8.
And it looks like he's quite happy about that. Flashes the lights. So
And rightly so.
good for him. Yeah, there's always a bit of shenanigans going on after the race. So yeah, great race. 2.4 hours, felt shorter than I feared at the before the race. But yeah, good racing overall. We didn't catch many silly incidents. Obviously, people losing control of their car, that can sometimes happen, but I don't think any bigger issues with lapped cars or anything. So good job from all the drivers, and we did see a couple of very good battles between different drivers. So good job on everybody who finished. Obviously, I think we only have 20 finishers, so that means everybody gets points.
Indeed, and Uni did manage to keep a hold of P9 despite the best effort of getting more penalties than almost everybody else combined. But yeah, he obviously had a minute gap over Dusty in P10, so kind of just about got away with that one.
Absolutely. Just having a look, who are we still waiting for to cross the line?
I'm not sure. I had a look through everybody and I couldn't see anyone still actually at race pace, so you're still driving. I think that's under AI. Well, it's not under AI control because there is no AI control, but there's only a couple of seconds left, so.
There we go. That
Wow.
is race over then, and we'll have the proper results, including the penalties on screen. So Jörg obviously wins tonight's race after 40 laps at Le Mans with his 3rd win of the season. As Turbo, first podium, finishes in P2. Sorry, Inky Chris finishing a 3rd. Good race there from him as well. Bogey Franz in P4, Smolder P5, Tomahawks 6th. Then we have Ultimate Cares in P7, Kiernick in P8, Uni in 9th, Dusty in P10.
Indeed, there. Crab just outside the top 10 in the 11 there, taking a Whickle not too far away from him, bringing it home in P12. 13th goes to JJ with Stephen Carey in 14th. Darephile bringing it home 15th with the Gnome, again also not too far behind in 16th. Malunga, Cameron B, Eschenschenk, and Mashup Matt. Well, Mashup Matt actually retired after 3 laps, but he stayed in the server like a good lad. But obviously did not go to plan for him. I think we actually saw him retiring obviously early on in the race. Looking at the pit stops, pretty much looks as if 3 stops was indeed the optimal strategy there. A couple of people, including Ultimate, due to damage, having to pit in for an extra stop there.
Eisenschenk coming in for 6 stops, so quite a few more than planned, but we did pick a lot of those up during the race.
And yet still scores points.
Still scores points, yes, absolutely. So finishing is rewarded tonight.
Indeed.
And I just had some quick calculations, and I hope I got them right. And if I have, that means that new championship leader is now Yoguk, sitting on 188 points. Tomahawks in second with 178, so 10 points difference there. Bogey France in third with 169. Then we've got Asturbo in P4 on 152 and Ultimate with 140 points in P5.
Indeed. We've got Inky Chris sitting ready for an interview, so let's bring him in if we can. Have a quick wee chat with him and see if he can tell us how he feels his race went for him. Mr. Inky Chris joins us, pulling in a very respectable podium finish there in perhaps a slightly inferior car, certainly at Le Mans. How did that go for you tonight?
Much better than expected. Yeah, I was really not expecting to do well because of the speed difference and apparently the fuel efficiency difference as well, which surprised me a little bit. But
yeah, we did notice you having to stop a lap or two before some of the other people there, so we were worried early on whether that was going to cause you problems later on. But yeah, obviously a good close battle with Asturbo at the end there. I guess you probably saw it coming from a couple of laps, but his pace obviously just managing to get past you before the end there.
Yeah, I was just kind of biding my time. To be fair, I fuel saved enough if Yoga could squeeze another lap in, so it was maybe worth it just for safety. But yeah, it's just once he got close enough, like the draft combined as well, because I don't know if you saw, but even in the draft for me, I was barely kind of making a dent on him.
It was essentially
all kind of in the
gap.
Corners.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it was keeping the gap. It wasn't pulling away when you were in the draft, but it was just a slow and painful catch up, and then you managed to get past, and then it was. I mean, you held on for an incredibly long time from being behind when he clearly had a slightly more pace than you did, but pretty much did all you could, really.
Managed to give a bit of time down the straights in the draft. I think most of the time was gained from not changing tyres. I think pretty much everyone else did, because I suddenly came out about 20 seconds in front of everyone.
I was going to inquire about what the pit stop strategies were like, because you seemed to gain a massive amount of time on certainly the two first pit stops, and jump a lot of people. So we assumed that you went out without changing tyres. So we just didn't know whether they would be dead by the end or not.
Yeah. Well, I was assuming they would be, as you know, from personal experience. The kind of practice sessions make you think that the tyre wear is going to be much worse than it ends up being.
Yeah.
I kind of looked; it was going to be stop 2 if you were going to change tyres, and I kind of checked, and my tyres were about, like 2/3 to a half worn. And knowing this game, I was like, well, unless they're completely gone, there's not much point changing. No. And I can kind of save myself, 12 odd seconds, which made up all the difference.
For sure.
Shame in hindsight that I didn't fuel save the first stint, because I was much closer to getting another lap out of that tank, and I think that would have covered me.
Okay.
Because I did throw away about 20 seconds in the middle stint to try and eke out another lap. I came in with about 0.4 of a litre for my final pit stop.
Yeah, some people were cutting it very fine, obviously trying to maximise the stint length as much as they could, but I think Yogurt came in with like 0.5 of a litre a couple of times, so it's like, okay, fair enough.
Interesting strategy for someone a minute and a half ahead.
Well, that's it. The people that seem to not really need to try and gain as much as they could out of it were still quite happy to really push the limit.
Yeah, exactly. But totally happy with the race. This league's been a bit kind of drive around on your own, a bit miserable, but actually, really pleased with that race. It's fun to actually drive around with someone, kind of battle and defend and do all the stuff that we're here to do in these leagues. So yeah,
Indeed.
happy with the result.
Perfect, and so you should. Certainly probably a lot better than had you perhaps still been in the Orica as well.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Cameron, I think it is, for not being a coward and sticking with it. I respect that.
Yeah.
It's nice to race some of the people at the front though. So.
Indeed. Excellent. Well, it's lovely to hear from you. Fantastic results. Congrats on the podium. And any thoughts for final race in terms of expectations or where you're hoping for?
I'm quietly confident. I quite. I think of myself as a bit of a wet weather driver. So yeah, and especially in these cars, I think the Judd does actually kind of edge out on mechanical grip. And yeah, I'm just hoping that I can kind of gain some time in the unusual conditions.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely have to put some practice in. So we'll see.
Excellent. Perfect. Excellent. Well, we will let you enjoy the rest of the evening. We'll have a quick wee chat to the other guys that are waiting for an interview. But thank you very much.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Shall we bring in Yogurt and
Yes.
Turbo and Ticklish Pickle together? Or shall we just do one at a time?
I think we can do Yogurt and Turbo since they finished first and second. I think that's a good idea. So let's do that. We've got Asturbo and Yogurt both in the commentary box. Good evening.
Hello.
So first of all, congratulations on your race results, finishing first and second in the race tonight. Obviously, first off, we're going to start off with Yogurt, who had a very, very dominant performance tonight. Third win of the season. Were you bored? I mean, finishing 1 minute ahead of the pack. That must have felt like a breeze.
It is the most bittersweet victory I've ever had.
But I guess you have to still continue to push because you just never know what might happen. You could get caught up in an incident with a back marker. So having that 1 minute, a 1 minute gap can easily disappear if you have an incident at the beginning of a lap with a back marker. So you can't really afford to just take it easy and kind of go at 90% pace. You've just got to go 10/10ths and bring it home and try and keep it as clean as possible. I guess was that your approach to it? Was there any point where you felt I can back off a little bit here, or?
It's exactly as you said. So. I mean, yeah, it looked pretty easy, but it's never actually that easy when you're in front all the time. I mean,
the lap times were obviously in your favour. You were generally around about 1 to 2, maybe even 3 seconds a lap quicker on average. Certainly between 1 and 2 seconds every lap. So it obviously all does add up when you do 40 laps and you're gaining 2 seconds a lap. So yeah, I mean. 1 minute and 15 seconds sounds like a massive advantage, but it's literally just that. It's about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds a lap quicker. It's very easy to throw that away with one single mistake somewhere in the lap.
Yeah, that's exactly why I was really focusing. You know, I mean, I even went safe on the downforce, just to not mess it all up. Kept pushing. Thought about the strategy constantly. Probably switch your tires at the best moment possible, and was even quicker. The gap was more than enough. I just needed to make it bigger and bigger. If something happened, I could, still try to win the race. And thankfully, nothing like that happened. And yeah, it was pretty boring in the end, but I'll take it.
It's a win's a win, whether it's pushing you to your limits or just bringing it home almost safe and happy. Yeah, that's obviously jumped you right up in the championship standings at the moment. I think it's going to be very close between yourself and the chap that was leading previously there. So yeah, it's on the cards to steal the win. for the full championship?
Sorry, just a little bit of difficulty here.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I'll definitely have the chance to go for the championship now, so I'll just be pushing it in the next round as well.
Well, you're in the lead of the championship now, so by
Just
I
still
think-
keep pushing.
I think 10 points, if I've not miscalculated. So
Okay. Excellent.
And I'd also like to shout out Ingy Chris. He probably drove the best race out of us all here in an powered car to go from P5 to P3 in the end. Really cool.
Yeah, I think it's P6 at qualifying, or certainly 5 or 6, and he was challenging for essentially second place up until the last lap or so. So yeah, fair play, indeed.
So obviously, Asturbo has been a silent listener the last couple of minutes. He's also in the commentary box. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello.
Well, congrats to finishing second, your first podium of the season. You must be quite happy about that.
Yes, I'm very happy, especially because I know that yogurt was impossible to follow. So I made a risky configuration, a risky setup for the car. I was with 0-0-0-0 wing, and
Oh, wow.
I was very fast in the straights, but in the Porsche section, I was very slow. I lose a lot of time, but I could battle with Bois France, and was fun because he passed me in the slow sections, and I recovered the place in the straights, and was fun.
We obviously saw a lot of those battles and the position swapping backwards and forwards there, and we were kind of commenting on that and saying, okay, we can see where Beaufrance has the advantage through the Porsche curves and that kind of section, the early part of Sector 1, but that he did just seem to have a faster car on the straights, and we predicted it was that you had lower downforce than some of the other guys out there, but I wasn't quite expecting 0-0. That's yeah, as you say, a bit of a risky decision to take, but it's obviously worked out very well, and yeah, came away with a second place.
Yes, I tried this configuration because I feel comfortable with the car. With no wing, only in the Porsche section I was slow, but if I get in that section in front of the other people, they can pass me even being faster than me. So I try and it works.
Indeed, and in terms of strategy. For tires, how did that work out for you? Did you swap tires on a couple of stints, or did you run to the end? Or
I stopped it 3 times, and I changed tires in the second pit stop. I think that Inky didn't change tires because he was very fast in the second pit stop.
Yeah,
he gained about 20 seconds, so it was very hard for Bogue France and me to try to catch him, even with warm tires.
yeah, indeed. I don't think he changed tires throughout the entire race, so he went all start to finish on that one set of tires. And as you say, he gained probably about 7 or 8 seconds on each of those stints, each of those pit stops. But it looked as if the tyres obviously weren't that badly gone, because as much as he did seem to have the pace on him at the end, and he did catch and pass him at the end, he wasn't that far off the pace, even on very, very old set of tyres.
Yes, it was a great race for him, because driving in these conditions, sure, it was very hard for him.
Yeah. But congratulations on a P2. You've got to be happy with your first podium of the season. Expectations for next week?
It's in Portugal, I think, in rain, so I
Yeah.
didn't practice. Don't know how things could go there.
Okay. So you're quite close to Inky Chris in the championship. Obviously, you'll have extended a little bit of a gap in front of him tonight. But I think Inky was saying that he's predicting that the judge is maybe a little bit better at Portugal than perhaps in the rain. So I think he's gonna see if he can take the race to you guys.
Let's see in next race. Will be fun.
Excellent. Perfect. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. We will
See you.
bid you a good night and enjoy the rest of the evening, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So then, last but not least, and I feel like this has become a theme in the last couple of weeks, it's TPW in the commentary box. Good evening.
Hello.
Thanks for being patient and waiting. Well, longest race of the season behind us. How was the race from your perspective? Are you very exhausted, or did it fly past like a breeze for you?
I mean, at this point, I'm no stranger to doing long endurance races, so still, it does exhaust you either way. A little bit weary after 2.5 hours in the car, but I really enjoyed the race. It was very fun. I had a bit of a couple of mishaps, which were totally my own mistake. I thought I was prepared enough for the race, and then I go and do something that I never did in my practice, and it all goes wrong. So, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. It was a very fun race.
So next week we're going to Portugal. First and only race this season in the rain. What are your expectations? Do you think it's going to be a strong track for you?
I can't really say at this point. I think it's a very technical circuit. A lot of blind corners and late apexes, and kind of some very steep hills where the car can get a little bit loose on you as well. So definitely gonna test people's driving skills, and of course the only race which will be in the rain. We will actually have a dry qualifying and then a wet race. So it's very much gonna test people's skills, and I hope the rain is gonna mix it up a bit.
That's what we're also hoping. Although even though at least from my perspective, I don't know how it is for you, Andrex, but even tonight with this very long race, you could expect cars pulling away from each other, and then there's just one train of cars going around in circles. We did have a good fair amount of battles tonight, considering an endurance race. I don't know how your experience is with it, Andrex, in longer races, how many battles usually there are, but yeah, tonight I think was really good.
Yeah, obviously the pace difference is magnified along with the races, so if somebody's just a little bit quicker than somebody else, then over the period of 2 hours or so or longer, then that gap is just going to increase over the duration of the race. But people have issues, people have accidents, mistakes, or wrong strategies, or anything that can happen that will allow even the slower people to not be fighting for last place and be getting several positions above what they're expecting. So it's the nature of longer races, is that it's not a sprint, and it's just a case of you just want to drive comfortably and get the car home and avoid any issues. And if you can do that, then you're going to benefit from other people having mistakes and so on. So you can be as fast as you like, but it just takes one mistake to ruin your entire race. So obviously these guys were doing some fantastic driving out there, and it's a credit to them that there wasn't really that many incidents at all on the grand scheme of things. If you're looking at how many cars you had on track and how long they were racing for, I think it is a pretty good showcase for the abilities of these drivers to put on a show like that. It's very enjoyable to watch, for sure.
All right, unless you have any more questions for TPW?
The only thing I would say is that unfortunately you have to relinquish your position of having the best name in the league, because that now has to go to Fat Scout in the Silver Body. So you've held on to that title, in my opinion, for a very long time, but you have to hand that crown on, I'm afraid, so.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely had some interesting names join, actually, this season. Admiral Lovrod, actually, also very interesting name.
Face Grinder 666.
He was a little bit earlier, but...
Indeed.
Yeah.
But yes, well done tonight. I think you should be pretty happy with that performance. And, looking forward to seeing the season out next week.
Right.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
So, last but not least, before we go, let's have a quick look at the calendar. Obviously, we've talked about it. Next week, on the 21st of April, we'll have the season finale at Algarve in Portugal. It's going to be a 60-minute race in the rain, so that's going to be very, very interesting for sure. The race is as always going to start at 8 p.m. UK time, so make sure to subscribe and put the bell notification on so you don't miss that. And Andrex, any final words from you?
No, just look forward to the final race. Certainly the rain will add a lot of the tactical decisions to the choices that the drivers are going to make in terms of car setup choices and so on. So, yeah, there's going to be a pit stop in there at least as well, as always. So, how they decide to use that, because the tyres should certainly last the full race duration. But obviously you've got to at least get to the point where a full stint left before you have to pit, because pitting in that first 10-15 minutes or so is going to force you into a two-stop race, which could very well see you out of any kind of contention of a good finish. But I look forward to the racing, and we'll see them on track.
Yeah, gonna look forward to that championship battle. Still several teams and drivers within a shot of winning their respective championships. So don't miss out on that next week. Obviously, thanks for Elgato for sponsoring the stream. Thank you, Andrex, for joining me in the community box tonight.
Thank you.
And then I'm hoping we'll all see you next week. So have a good evening and bye-bye.